I would like to say it is a great honor when Talmidei Chachamim come to our cities and instill Torah into us. It's like food for our souls. So when we have these chances to meet such great people, to hear such words of wisdom from them, we should take advantage of it. And thank you, Rabbi, for coming to our shul, to our city, and helping us all, helping our souls and saving souls all over the world.
Thank you very much, Shlomo. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you in Denver, Colorado. For the first time I'm here in this state. And I travel a lot, so it's always the first time. And I'm very happy to see the place is full, completely, Baruch Hashem. One announcement before I start. This Sephardi Minyan here started thanks to Arav Uriel Malka, Zichrono Livracha, that passed away in the big fire in Eretz Israel a few months ago in the Carmel mountain. And this shul is called after him, you know, Bet Uriel. That was his first name, Uriel. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May his name be blessed. Every activity that takes place in this place obviously helps his neshama. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will have tonight a great lecture, and after the lecture, questions and answers in any topic you want. Feel free to ask any question after this lecture. I wasn't sure what to speak about tonight, so I always like to look at the audience before, and then I'll decide what to talk about. So I see a beautiful mixture of different kinds of people here, different levels and different places. Everyone gathered together, like the Rabbi say, Moshe Rabbeinu gathered everyone right after Yom Kippur. He came down from the mountain after 120 days. First 40 days he got the first commandment. After that he came down and he saw the horrible sin of the golden calf. And after that he broke the commandments. And he went up again for 80 days. And he came down exactly on Yom Kippur, which was 80 days after Shvaisre B'Tammuz, 17 of Tammuz. And then he came down, Hashem said, I forgave, as you begged me to forgive the nation of Israel. But those of us who knows some Torah knows that even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgave, and the punishment that he wanted to give to the nation of Israel did not happen in the end, the Gemara says that every generation takes some portion of that punishment from generation to generation until eventually the payment will be paid completely. So forgive, yes, but still the payment is been made from generation to generation. That's why many things in our life, by the way, are much more difficult than the way they should have been. And the reason for that is as results of this horrible sin. 40 days after the nation of Israel and the Egyptian converts heard the voice of God, they had the nerve to make an idol and then surround it and announce this is the God of Israel, which is a very big embarrassment. 3,300 years later, we are doing everything we can to erase that shame. It's not something to be proud of. The whole world reads it, and many non-Jews, Gentiles, read the Torah in many languages all over the world, and they're all wondering, how can it be that such a thing happened? Even though it's very, very deep, much, much deeper than the regular text, and people who can learn the deepness of the Torah, they understand. People who just read the literal words, it's very difficult to understand. The point of this, that Moshe gathered the entire nation. First, he opened up the Jewish court for the first time in the morning until late afternoon. All the cases that people had open, the Egyptian converts were making demands that all the money that the Jewish people took out of Egypt, they want to get a share of it. It belongs to them. And Moshe was the only one who can judge them because he's the only one who never touched that gold and jewelry, because he was busy searching for the body of Joseph. Joseph was the treasury of Egypt, and his body was thrown into the Niles by the Egyptians because they knew he's a holy person. And while the nation of Israel were accumulating jewelry and money, the only one who went and searched for that body was Moshe. And since he was clean and he did not take any of this gold, he was the only one who could judge them fairly, objectively, because he never took from their gold. And obviously he told them, you have to make up your mind. Did you convert it to Judaism for real and you're part of the nation of God, or you want to be half and half? You want to be half Jewish and half Egyptians. When it's comfortable, you want to be Jewish. When it's not so comfortable, you want to be Egyptian. You have to make up your mind. The Zohar, the Jewish Kabbalah, and the Gemara, which is the oral Torah, until today, they said, and we read it and we learn it in every generation and generation, that we are paying a tremendous price from this Erev Rav, from these Egyptians that Moshe brought into the Jewish nation. The Zohar said that when a Messiah would come, the Mashiach would come, they would come to demonstrate against him. So it's not over yet. The battle is still going on, every generation and generation, unfortunately. And we see that among us, among our nation, there are people who are unfortunately are fighting against the Torah. Not only they do not keep the Torah and practice the laws, there's one thing you don't keep, it's hard for you, it's too difficult for you, you have doubts, you have difficulties, you know, all the different kinds of reasons. That's one thing not keeping. But there's a much, much, much worse level fighting against it and trying to destroy it, trying to prevent it from spreading around, trying to prevent tshuva from the nation of Israel. When people come and gather and they listen to the words of the Torah, and there are people who come and fight against it, trying to destroy it. That's the situation we live in. But Baruch Hashem, nothing in life is easy, as we all know. And let's start tonight's lecture. I'm going to show in the next hour some scientific proofs, things that were mentioned in the Talmud 2,000 years ago, indicates that a person was unable to write it. Why it's so important to show scientific proof that the Torah is divine? If you know, I believe that some of you already watched my film Torah and Science. I made that film a few years ago, and it's 4 hours Jewish seminar. And from what I've seen over the years, even people were completely anti-religion and complete atheists and did not believe almost in anything in Judaism. Once they watched that film, they turned everything they thought about around. It changed their entire mind on the Torah. Why? Because they saw so much scientific evidence in that film that they realized that a person was unable to hide it. Only the creator of the world was able to hide it. And from there to become believers, it's not such a long way anymore. Before you had any proof and the Torah looks to you just like another fairy tale, God forbid, then why should you believe? In a generation that today that everyone admires science and everyone follow the scientists even more than they follow the rabbis, obviously you have to prove to the people in a language that they understand. In the old days, you didn't need anything scientific. The rabbi used to say to the community, that's what the Torah say, and everyone say, okay, that's it, that's the rule, that's what we have to do. Today, everything needs a proof, unfortunately. But since Baruch Hashem, the Torah have plenty of proofs, so someone like me, all I have to do is just gather it together into 1 or 2 or 5 lectures, and I show it to the public, and the public are amazed. Let's start. The Gemara, the oral Torah in Masechet Nida, page 31, the Gemara describes the creation of the human being. When the baby is created after the mother and the father were together, the Gemara describes what's happening from that moment on. The Gemara says 3 partners in the creation of mankind: his father, his mother, and the creator of the world. The DNA that comes from his father creates the bones, the ligaments, the nails, the brain inside the head, the whites inside the eyes. And what comes from the mother creates the flesh, the skin, the hair, the pupils inside the eyes, and then comes God and give the spirit, the soul, the image of the face, the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to walk, the wisdom, and the intelligence. If you paid attention to the list, all the physical things come from the father and the mother. All the spiritual things, which is the soul and the spirit, and all the spirituality in the human being come from the creator of the world. And the Gemara says, once the time for a person arrives to leave the world, comes God and takes his share, and leaves what the mother and father contributed, which at that point, it's worthless, because everything is there. The eyes are there, the heart is there, every organ of the body is there, but without the soul and the spirit inside the body is worthless. The value of a human body worth in a lab less than a slice of pizza. And it's not an exaggeration. 20 years ago when I started to give lectures, 19 and a half to be precise, then the value of a human body, we calculated everything, was 97 cents. With inflation, it's about $2 today. So $2 is the value of the human being on his body. Everybody understands that when a person had an accident, his family doesn't sue for $2, right? Just the papers to submit, the fax would cost more, right? So everybody understands that a person is, there's no price that can evaluate him. Why? Because when you evaluate a person, the last thing you worry about is his body and his beauty. You only evaluate his spirituality. The more famous he is, the more he contributed to humanity. He's a great philosopher, he's a great leader, he affected millions. Obviously his value is higher and higher. The more anonymous he is, which he did not contribute almost anything to the world, obviously has a regular value. But everybody understands it's not a value of the body. The question is, when officially a person becomes a living creature? When? The Gemara says 40 days before the baby is becoming a living human being, an angel comes and takes a drop of seed and brings it up to the court of heaven in front of God. And he asks, dear God, what's going to be with this drop? What does it mean, what's going to be with this drop? You're going to decide right now which soul to enter that body. Which soul to enter that body. There are many, many thousands of souls that are waiting to come back for another round. What we call in Judaism reincarnation, as it's described in a famous book of the Ari HaKadosh, the legendary biggest Kabbalist in the last 2,000 years. It's called Sha'ar HaGilgulim, the chapter of reincarnations, which he explains the entire concept of reincarnation. If you watch my film, Life After Death, it leaves no doubt whatsoever. So far, thousands watched it. I did not find one that can contradict it. There's plenty of scientific evidence that scientists already proven that there's reincarnation. By hypnotizing people, they speak in languages they never spoke in this life. They don't know these languages. Later you show them the video and they see their body speaking in a language. They have no idea what they're saying. Some people remember their previous life without hypnosis. There are millions of people like this. The world has 7.4 billion people, so few million is really nothing. It's a very small percentage. But few million witnesses who remember their entire previous life, and there are few films that were even broadcast in the Israeli secular television. And until they agree to show anything that promotes religion, there are many, many debates until they agree to post something like this in prime news. And they showed about 20 minutes article about an Arab kid, Druze. I remember his entire previous life in details. Who he used to be was an Israeli soldier, because the Druze joined the army. And he died in Lebanon in a big crash of that building in Lebanon. And more than 70 people died, Israeli soldiers, one of the biggest tragedies in the history of the army. And then right away he came back in a new body, and when he was 7 years old, he described his entire previous life until the moment he died. and they show over there on television how he stands by his grave crying. And they're asking him, what do you feel? He said, I feel very bad that I see how I was buried in this grave, and now he's in a new body of a 7-year-old kid. And he remembers his entire life, and they tested him. They showed the entire family. From his previous body. And there are many, many thousands of cases like this of children between the age 2 and 4 who comes and describe their entire previous life. It's been proven already scientifically. That's not the topic here tonight. I brought you CDs, and you can take the Life After Death CDs. And I have them in Hebrew, in Russian, in English. You can watch it. You can watch it online. I have a free app on my website. You can have access to all these lectures free. You can watch it over there, and you will not have ever a doubt that there are reincarnations and there's life after death. The question is, when officially a person becomes a living human being? The Gemara says 40 days before the person becomes a human being, an angel comes and takes a drop of seed, and he asks God, what's going to be the fortune of this drop? Who is going to be the baby? There are many, many, many thousand, millions of people waiting to come back to improve their soul, what we call tikkun, to improve the soul, to improve certain things that we did wrong in our previous life. There's an opportunity to improve it. So what happened? Now they decide what's going to be about that drop. And there is a decision that is made in advance for the person. If he's going to be handsome or not, it's decided. Male or female, it's decided. If he's going to have wealthy life or life of poverty, it's decided. If he's generally going to be a healthy person and strong, or he's going to have all kinds of weaknesses and sicknesses, it's also decided. Who is going to be his parents is decided. Basically, everything is decided for him before he even came to this world. The Gemara says, but there's one thing who is not decided for the human being. If to be righteous or wicked is 100% in the hand of the person. Once he's in the body, and the body has what we call the evil inclination, which is always pushing the person to the negative things against God and against the Torah, comes the soul, enters the body from the nostrils. That's how the soul penetrates into the body. And the person becomes alive. The question is, when is the person considered to be alive? Why it's important? Because once he's alive, if somebody kill him, even though he's still in his mother's womb, then he can become a murderer. If he's not alive, it's not a murder. If he's alive, it's already a full murder. So we need to know exactly from what day he becomes a living creature. So let's see what the scientist has to say. Professor David Leger, he wrote a book, was published in Israel by Masada Publication in 1983, page 43, that's the source. It's called Playing with Life. And this is the conclusion of the scientific world according to 1983. It did not change to the best of my knowledge since then. It says that in the 40th day, 40, we already begin to measure brain waves and brain activity and sense life in the life of this new baby. Let's see what Chazal, the Gemara, the sages had to say approximately 2,000 years ago, and this is written by the Rambam about 800 years ago. This is what it says. Amapelet leyom arba'im, a woman that had an unfortunate miscarriage. Up to 40 days, she doesn't have to worry about a living baby that just fell. The 41st day, 41 day, she's already got the impurity of, if it was a boy or a girl, whatever it is, and also nida. So that means according to this Gemara, the Gemara already knew that the life of a baby begins in the 40th days, going into the 41st day. The Vlad Ba'adam, the person, nigmar le-40 yom, is completed. The human being is completed in the 40th day. Amapelet pachot me-40 yom, eno Vlad. A woman that had a miscarriage in the first 48 days, there was really no baby. There was material and minerals which were forming a body, but the soul did not penetrate yet. That's why it wasn't alive yet. Usually when I make this lecture, I show everything on a screen, and then you can see the pictures of the baby in the first month, second month, in how many weeks in a pregnancy, how the size of the baby. But today we're doing it without the presentation, so I have to, describe it to you with some words. So we find that in a generation that there was no sonogram, there's no way to measure heartbeat. None of the tests that doctors are doing and performing today, they had in those days. But the Gemara already wrote with no hesitation, life begins in the 41st day. End of the 40th days, life began. And it's very interesting. In two sources. One, when they're speaking about the impurity of a woman who just had a miscarriage. And the second source is that the angel came to God and told him what's going to be with this one. So the Gemara used the language 40 days before he became a human being. Which means in the 40th days, he's already officially a human being. Today, they made some experiments in the 3rd month of the pregnancy. One of the experiments they did, they pinched the nose of the baby. And he moved his head to the right. And then they pinched him again, and he moved again. Right away, we understand that his nerve system in the 3rd month of the pregnancy is fully working. After 4 times that they pinched his nose, and he was keep moving his head to the side, trying to run away from the pain, when they came to do it for the 5th time, before the needle touched his nose, he already moved his head. Which means not only that his nerve system is working, is 100% thinking and anticipating danger coming, which means his brain is fully functioning. Then they injected sugar into the mei shafir, to the water, and the baby ate double than the normal, which means he liked Coke and Pepsi already before he was born. It's not only after, it's already injecting some sugar, and the baby is now much, much hungrier and enjoying the taste. That means he can tell the difference between flavors. All kinds of experiments. One more experiments they did, a smoking woman in the middle of the pregnancy. They show a video, what is the baby doing when his mother's smoking. So in the entire time, as soon as she starts smoking, you see that he's shrinking and he's suffering tremendously from that few moments that she smokes. But then, they made an unbelievable experiment. They told the woman, signal to us when you begin to crave a cigarette. Tell us, signal to us. And they were checking all the time how the baby behaves. So as soon as the mother was starting to crave that she wants to light a cigarette, he's already going into defensive mode. Which means he's connected to his mother minds, just like the Chachamim says, and he hears everything that happens. They made all kinds of experiments trying to prove, I don't know how scientific it is because I don't have the research, but from what reading in the past, that music, for instance, affecting the intelligence of the baby. Now, we know music affecting the soul of a person from the Torah. We know music can make a person happy, music can make him sad, music can bring the Shekhinah, the spirit of Hashem on him. We find from King Saul, that every time he fell down in his spirit, he called David, King David, before he became a king, and he was playing music for him. Obviously, the music was lifting his spirit up. And we know in life today that music can change mood very, very quickly. So we find, the Gaon Mivilna said that there are 2 gates in a spiritual world. One is the highest, which is the Torah. It's the highest spirituality that a person can reach. And there's one more gate, which is also very spiritual, that can reach almost almost to the same level. What is it? The music. The Gaon Mivilna say if people knew all the secrets of music, it's a whole Torah by itself. Yeah, you have some musicians, they know how to play nice music, but it's much more complicated than most of us understand. Let's move on. In many generations, people were puzzled about what create twins. Identical twins and non-identical twins. Nobody knew in the old days what the exact reason for twins, what creates them. Most of the people, their opinion was that from one relation between a man and a woman, it can create only one baby. And in the old days, they used to think that if two babies were born, that means it's from two different relationships, two different times. That's what people used to think. Then, when they invented the microscope for the first time, when they started to examine seeds, they found out that the baby is created from one seed, but they still did not know what caused twins. Until recently, only in our time, only a few years ago, they started to understand finally after they invented very sophisticated machines that make all kinds of searches and check all kinds of things in science, that they found that non-identical twins are created from two different eggs. But identical twins are created from one egg that went with one seed and later split into two. Now, the question is, when was it declared by the scientists? In the beginning of the new century, and after the year 2000, which is less than 14 years ago. The question is it really a discovery of our generation, or it's something that Chazal 2,000 years ago already knew? That's the question. The Talmud, which was written approximately 2,000 years ago, little less, but long, long time ago, in a very primitive generation, the Talmud in Masechet Nida, page 27, this is what it says. Maaseh v'nishtaha vlad echad achar chavero gimel chodashim. One baby came out, and all of a sudden, after 3 months, the wife said, I have to give birth again. She gave birth, and there was another baby inside, and nobody knew. After that, the twin brother was born. And here they are. One, his name is Yehuda. They're showing them in a yeshiva. And one, his name is Chizkiah. Who are they? The son of the legendary Rabbi Chia, one of the greatest rabbis who ever lived in history. He had two boys. One was born now, and the other one was born 3 months later. The Gemara say, how can it be? A woman cannot become pregnant when she's already pregnant. There's no pregnancy fall on top of the other. So, how can it be? Amar Abaye, Abaye answer, is also one of the biggest rabbis. One drop it was, and it was split in two. One was formed completely in the beginning of the 7th month of the pregnancy, and one was formed completely in the end of the 9th month. And that's what created more than 2 months difference between the giving birth to those two. So the Gemara say something that we only discovered in our days with all the billions of dollars research and equipment and everything that we have today. The Gemara already told you that there was one drop who split it into two inside the mother's womb. Something like this, no person was able to know, and no one was able to guess such a thing, unless if they knew this information from the creator of the world who gave life. There's no way for anyone to imagine such a thing in such days. Until 14 years ago, nobody could imagine it until we finally got the equipment that we have today. Let's give a few more examples. Who was the first doctor that used anesthesia in a surgery? Today we go to a surgery or all kinds of things in a hospital or root canal. We cannot imagine how painful it would be without the anesthesia. People can faint from the pain. It's something that a person cannot even take. But what they used to do in the old days, when they needed to operate on a person or do something, if they did not have anesthesia, how exactly they did it? The first doctor who used anesthesia in the middle of a procedure was Crawford W. Long, from 1815 to 1878. That's the time he lived. This is about 200 years ago. He was born about 200 years ago, and you know, he didn't have such long life. The first time he used anesthesia was 1842, but he did not publish it. For whatever reason, he did not publish that he used anesthesia. 4 years later, a different doctor, Dr. William Morton, he published this discovery by using anesthesia himself 4 years later. So we're talking here 1846, about 160 years ago. That's it, something like that. This comes from the Encyclopedia Michlal in the 6th book, page 109. This information which I just read to you from the encyclopedia, secular encyclopedia. The question is, are these two doctors the first one who use anesthesia? Or this is what the encyclopedia is claiming that happened? That's the question. The answer is, the Gemara says Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the one who wrote the Zohar, gathered the Kabbalah that we receive in Mount Sinai and wrote it into one book, what we call the Zohar, the holy book, the Zohar. He had a son. His son was Rabbi Elazar. He was a very heavy man, very heavy. The Gemara says they made him a surgery. Which surgery? Liposuction. Today when they do liposuction, believe it or not, some people died in the middle of the surgery. Even though it's not the most complicated surgery in the world, but there are many cases in the world since they started with that people do not make it. 2,000 years ago, this is what the Gemara said. The Gemara said they made him lay on a piece of marble. If you know a little bit about sterilizing raw material, marble, it's very easy to sterilize. You clean it and it stays very clean. The Gemara said they cut his stomach open and they took 2 buckets full of fat out of his body. Full of 2 buckets full of fat out of his body. So the Gemara says that the surgery that they did, they gave him all kinds of drugs that they were able to cut him and he put him to sleep and he did not feel anything. And later when he saw 2 buckets of fat came out of his body. Also the Gemara speaks about King David, that when he went to the war, he had this technology to make cuts in the feet of his soldiers, eliminating the nerve system, that when they run to the war, if their shoes are ripping, obviously there's no shoemaker now in the middle of the war, so their feet would not feel the thorns and the heat and the cold and the ice, whatever they run on, it eliminates the nerves on the bottom of the feet. Also, he used to do one more surgery. He used to remove the splint. Splint in Hebrew means tchol. He used to remove the splint from the soldiers. What's the point of removing the splint? By the way, nobody in the world today knows how to make a surgery to remove the splint. The last I checked a few years ago, maybe they learned in the last 5 years, but no one ever performed in our days surgery removing the splint. What's the point of removing the splint? Once the splint is removed, he can run non-stop, doesn't get tired. He can run and run and run in the middle of the war. So they have technology that some of the things that they used to do in the old days, we're doing today, and some of it we don't even know how to do today. Let's give a few more examples. A size of 1 germ, 1 microscopic germ, is 2 micron by half a micron. In case you do not know what micron is, I also don't know, don't feel bad. It's 1,000th of a millimeter. 1 inch has 25 millimeters. So divide 1 inch by 25, it's 1 millimeter. Now that little millimeter which is almost nothing, divided by 1,000. That's the size of one of the chaydakim, one tiny chaydak. You cannot see it. You need a microscope for it. Okay. On one line that we draw with a pencil, we can have on a 1 millimeter dot, we can have 2,000 germs standing one next to the other. In the year 1680, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek developed the first microscope, 1680, about 334 years ago. This microscope magnified 200 times and was able to see all kinds of germs in movement, but it was not such a sophisticated microscope. In the second half of the 19th century, they obviously improved those microscopes, and they finally knew for sure that those germs are the cause of most of the sicknesses that happen in the world. The scientist Louis Pasteur from France, Louis Pasteur, he's the one who pushed that research. Two major discoveries, we give the credit for Louis Pasteur. One is to kill those germs, you have to pasteurize it. That's what we buy today, pasteurized milk. What is it? They heat it in 80 degrees Celsius. 80, not 100, it's boiling. You don't need to boil it. It's enough you reach 80 degrees when you heat it, it kills the germs. And then the milk can stay for much, much longer. Instead of a day, it would stay a week. Why? Because you kill the germs. Okay. One more discovery Louis Pasteur gets the credit for, Rabies. The dog that has this disease, what we call kalevet in Hebrew, rabies, that he found that the cure for the rabies comes from the liver of the same dog. They take germs in a lab, and they re-inject it later in, and they fight the germs of that dog, and that's how they save the life of a person. The question is Louis Pasteur is really the one who discovered them, or this is information who came from the Talmud? That's the question. The Gemara says in Masechet Derech Eretz, page 7, in the Talmud, 2,000 years ago almost, Amru Chazal, our sages said, a person should not drink from the leftover of his friend's glass. Your friend drank water, there's a little bit left in a glass. A person should not drink from his mouth. Why? Because it's a life risk. 2,000 years ago, who would think that by drinking the leftover from your cousin's mouth or your brother's mouth, chas v'shalom, you can die? It's a life risk. The Gemara says in the will of Rabbi Eliezer, that was written 2,000 years ago, it says, Shema yesh lo choli begufo, maybe he has a sickness in his body, the person who drank from the water first, ve'yetze mipiv leoto shiur, and it comes from his mouth into the water in a cup. So there's something very interesting. We see right away that the Gemara knew there are germs that you cannot see that can send sickness into water that came from a person's mouth into the glass. But not only that, they also knew that those germs can kill the second person but cannot affect the first person, which is very common today. Sometimes the person is infected and it doesn't affect him. He can live. And his friends get the disease from him. It's contagious. God forbid he can die right away after. And everyone is wondering why, if person B got it from person A, person B died, how come person A is still alive? That's a very common thing in medicine. So the Gemara knew, just because that person doesn't show any signs that he's sick, doesn't mean he's healthy. Maybe he's sick and the germs go from his mouth into the glass. This is 2,000 years ago. But it gets much better. The Gemara says in Masechet Baba Metzia, the Talmud in page 29, this is what it says. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Kasa de charshin velo kasa de poshrin, which means Better to drink water with black magic, a curse, a kishuf inside, than to drink lukewarm water that were never boiled before. If a person that knows as the black magic and he puts a curse in this water, nobody wants to drink from it. It says it's safer to drink this water than to drink regular water that were never boiled before. Now the Gemara continue. This is only if it's in metal glasses, metal. But if it's in ceramic, there's no such danger. And even in metal, which metal can attract germs, it's only if it was not boiled before. If it was boiled, there's nothing to worry about. This is a clear discovery in the Talmud 2,000 years ago, 1,900 years before Louis Pasteur. But nobody gave credit to Rabbi Yochanan. Why? Nobody heard about him in a college. They don't learn about Mabba Metzia in a college. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, the Talmud in Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 21. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, Petza shenotzar mimakat barzel, a wound that was made by metal, it's a life risk. And you're allowed to violate Shabbat to take care of that person. So in other words, if a kid walks lo alenu and a nail went into his feet, it happens, those things happen in new construction sites. Now it's Shabbat. Technically, okay, it's not the end of the world. Shabbat is a special day. You don't violate Shabbat for every wound. So if a person has a serious wound that was made by a plastic, you're not allowed to violate Shabbat for it. But even if he has a little hole, a little blood just went into his feet a little bit, right away you're allowed to violate Shabbat. And for those of you who do not know what Shabbat is the foundation of all Judaism. It's the foundation of everything. It's not just another mitzvah. It's the covenant that the Creator of the world made with the Jewish nation for eternity. That's what we say in the Kiddush. Ot I beni uvenechem, what? Ot I leolam. It's a sign for eternity that I chose you from all the nation to be my children. That's why in the Jewish book of law, in 7 different chapters, it's saying that a Jew that refused to keep the Shabbat is basically cutting himself out of his connection with Hashem until he makes tshuva. Once he makes repentance, he's going back to his original status. But if he refused to keep the covenant, Mechalel Shabbat, it's making Shabbat a secular day, a weekday. It's a serious violation. We're not talking someone who was born in Siberia and never heard about Judaism in his life, or was born in some kibbutz that they refused to teach religion. We're talking Jews who knows their religion, they know their Torah, they have some friends that are religious, they went to school and they taught a little bit Torah. Even in the secular schools, they teach a little Judaism and Torah here and there. And today there are CDs all over and websites all over and people speaking about it all over. So they have an idea. They're not completely in the darkness. And they refuse to keep. They basically terminating the eternal agreement between them and the Creator of the world. It's not something that most people, I know from experience, and Baruch Hashem helped me in over the last 20 years to make many, many thousands of people who today keep Shabbat that before they did not keep at all. Many thousand. What was the secret of this success? I realized in the first few years that most of the Jews who violate Shabbat, they have no idea what Shabbat is. It's only because of ignorance, not because of evilness. Something that comes out of evilness is very difficult to change the person's traits, his personality. If he's a cruel, evil person, it's very difficult to change him. It may take years, but something that it's only lack of knowledge, it may take 2-3 hours. That's it. All you have to show him what Shabbat is, and to show him what the Torah says about Shabbat, what the Gemara says about Shabbat, what the Zohar says about Shabbat, what the Shulchan Aruch says about Shabbat, what the Rambam wrote about Shabbat. And once he sees it, I saw people pulling their hair off. So I wish I knew it 20 years ago. How come no one say it? And as soon as they found out, right away, they changed completely. So what do you see? It's very misfortunate that we have this knowledge and we don't show it to the world. Why? At least half of them would change if they only knew what it is. So let's move back to what we say. If there is a wound that's made from metal, you're allowed to violate Shabbat. Why? The Torah say life risk, postpone Shabbat temporarily until the life risk is over. Then all the laws apply again. So what do we see? The Gemara knew today they give tetanus shot. Right? When was this invented? Only not that long ago. But 2,000 years ago, how did they know that some of these things, thank you, how did they know that metal is a life risk? They knew about germs. You see in the Talmud many proofs that they knew about things that could not be proven because there is no microscope. I'll give you an example. The Torah say that Hashem said to the Jewish nation, I do not want you to keep from the man for tomorrow. I'm giving you every day enough to eat for today. Trust me that tomorrow I will feed you just as much as I fed you today. Don't save. Saving for tomorrow, it's an indication you don't trust me. You don't trust me, you don't have faith in me, it's a problem. I want you to have full confidence that I will feed you tomorrow, just like I feed the mouse, just like I feed the elephant, just like I feed the whole world, and even the idols worshiper who bow down to their idol who makes me very angry and very upset, I still feed them. So it's needless to say that I will feed you, my children, that I chose you from all the nation to be mine. What are you worried about? Believe it or not, after this beautiful speech, some of the people they were not convinced. They kept in a jar. They kept man for tomorrow. The Torah say the next day they came to eat it, and they saw it's full of worms. The Torah say, Vayarom tolaim vayivash. Worms came out of it, and then it started to smell. For almost 1,000 years, every criticist of the Torah, they made a parody out of this verse. You see? There's a mistake in the Torah. You say there's no mistake in your Torah. Here we can show you there's mistake in the Torah. Where is the mistake, the Rabbi asked? And they say, this is the wrong order. What comes first? First comes the worms and then comes the smell? Or first comes the smell and then comes the worms? When something gets rotten, what comes first? So everyone say, it's beginning to smell, and only a day or two later you see worms. But the Torah say, no, first comes the worms, and then comes the smell. But when they invented the microscope, and they looked into things that were left out, there are microscopic worms already that nobody can see with their eyes. Nobody could see it. It takes 3 days until they grow that you can see them with a naked eye. The Torah was always right. This is another one of many thousands of proofs that a person could not write the Torah because no person had a microscope 3,300 years, and no person would have known that this fish right now have thousands of worms in it, but they're so small that you cannot see it. And the Torah say first came the worms and then came the smell. And all the nations made a party out of it, and later on we found out that the Torah was right as usual. Same thing with Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei was killed by the Christian church. Some of his discoveries in science they did not like. So they took him to a house and they choked him with dust, with sand. They used to throw sand, and there's no way you can breathe over there, and they killed him, they executed him. In 1608, he developed a telescope 6 feet. Once he raised the telescope to the sky, he found out there are much more than 6,000 stars. Everyone thought there's only 6,000 to 8,000 stars in the world because you couldn't count more. But the Gemara in Masechet Brachot say that Hashem said to the Jewish nation how many stars he created in the world. And when you do the calculation in the Talmud, it comes 19 digits number. 19 digits, very, very long number. In a generation there was no telescope. Who could have even dreamed that there's more than 8,000 stars? There's no way to see. But the Gemara say, God said to the Jewish nation, 12 sections I created in heaven. And in each section I created 30 armies. And in each armies I created 30 legions. And in each legions I created 30 ratons. And in each ratons I created 30 karatons. And in each karatons I created 30 gisteras. And in each gistera I hung 365,000 ribo multiplied by 10,000 stars. And all of that I made for the nation of Israel. And you have the nerve to say that I left you and neglected you? Calculation, 12 times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 30, times 365,000, times 10,000, gives us 1 and 18 digits. So when the nations came to the Jews and say, listen, you always claim you have all the answers in your Torah. We have a contradiction in the Torah. God came to Abraham. Tell us, did he bless him or he cursed him? So the Jews ask, why? They say, what does it say in the verse? I will multiply your descendants like the sand on the ground and like the stars in the universe. Sand on the ground, everybody knows it's billions. But the skies, only a few thousand stars. It's a shame. What a nation, 6,000 people. It's not even a tribe. It's not even a town. That's not, I will multiply your descendants. So the Jews told them, no, you only think there are a few thousand stars. But the Torah already told us that there are much more than what we can see. So they made fun. When Galileo found his telescope, they see many more galaxies that nobody saw before. They prove what the Torah says. Just because people are unable to understand yet what the Torah says doesn't mean that the Torah is wrong, of course. Just we don't have the ability to prove yet what the Torah says. So let's give another example. In a book, Mavo She'arim, there was a book written in Judaism that was written about 120 years ago in a generation of Louis Pasteur in France. There is a testimony by his good friend, Dr. Israel Michael Rabinovich, that Pasteur got his idea for his research from the Talmud. Rabbi Rabinovich, that lived in Paris, translated the Talmud to French. And when Pasteur read the French explanation of the Talmud in Seder Moed, in a Gemara in Moed, he was very surprised to read this sentence. Someone who was beaten by a sick dog, you feed him from the liver of that dog. Liver of a dog, it's not kosher. It's just like eating pork, just as bad. What does it mean you feed a Jew from a liver of a dog? Obviously, that's only when there's a life risk. Life risk, you're allowed to eat everything. It's pikuach nefesh. When Pasteur saw that, he started to investigate. Many people were dying from this disease until these days. And later, he discovered the medicine against rabies. The Talmud in Masechet Yoma, page 83, this is what it says. 5 things are mutual, 5 elements, 5 mutual elements to a dog that have rabies. What is it? His mouth is always open. Saliva is always dripping from his mouth. He can't control it. His ears are falling down. His tail is down in between his legs, which usually it's going straight. This time he goes down. And he always walks crooked on the sides of the roads. This is 2,000 years ago. Check today, a dog with rabies, exactly this. His tail is down, saliva going on the side of the road. Very, very interesting. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Brit Milah, circumcision. You know, the Chachamim, the sages are saying, some mitzvot has mazal, some mitzvot does not have mazal. Mazal means good fortune. Really, in reality, there is fortune in the world, and it's depend on the movement of the galaxies and the stars. But the Gemara said that the nation of Israel are above the fortune, which means because of the reward and punishment and the free choice and the entire concept, they can elevate themselves out of the system that they're supposed to be poor, they can elevate themselves. Supposed to be, God forbid, not healthy, they can elevate themselves. They're supposed to die, they can get out of it. Why is it? The Gemara gives few examples of big things that people did, such as charity, and it extended their life, even though according to the stars they were supposed to die that week. But something is very, very interesting. Which mitzvah, which commandment from the 613 commandments in the Torah, the secular people should hate the most? You tell me. Which mitzvah they should hate the most? Technically, Brit Milah, circumcision. Why? Imagine you come to a secular woman in Tel Aviv and say to her, Rachel, we want you to do us a favor. When your baby is born, take scissors and cut his ear. And we all gonna say, Mazal Tov, L'chaim. What is she gonna say? Police, 911, there's few crazy rabbis here. Come quick. What did she just do yesterday? She took an innocent baby. She comes and says, it's very interesting. It's one of the biggest mysteries in life. Most of those secular people, when you speak to them one-on-one, some claim they don't even believe in God, God forbid. Some say, we believe in a superpower, well, we don't believe in a Torah. Some say, we believe in a written Torah, but we don't believe in the oral Torah. The rabbis made it up. They never learned oral Torah. That's why they came up with this false conclusion. But everyone has some kinds of doubts and dilemmas. So if a person comes and says, I don't believe in the Torah, what reasons he have to take a baby and in an 8-day cut a piece from his body? Doesn't make any sense to you? No. It doesn't make any sense. Technically, it should be an attempted murder. An attempt to murder. Because once in a blue moon, it can create a complication. Any person that would cut a part of his baby in a hospital would probably spend the next 10, 20 years of his life in prison. But when it comes to cutting the orla of the baby, not only Jews don't go to prison, sometimes the chief of the FBI participates in a Brit Milah in New York. Right? The father of the boy is one of his lawyers or whatever. So he comes and says, everything is fine, legal. The question is, what makes a person, a baby that is just born and his liver is not mature yet, overcome such a serious surgery in the beginning of his life? Let's see. The Torah says that in the 8th day we have to cut the orla. The written Torah only say to cut the orla, but in a written Torah it doesn't say where to cut. Without the oral Torah, without Torah Shebe'al Peh, no one would know where to cut. How do you know what orla is? Everyone would come with a different idea. Here, the nails, this. Oh, it doesn't mean in the body. It means something on a tree to cut. Everyone has a different Brit Milah right away. Why? Because without the oral Torah, no one would know what orla means. Comes the oral Torah and teach the people where to cut and when and what happens if the baby is yellow and if it's in a day or if it's in a night, what happens if on Shabbat, what happens if this baby doesn't have a father, can the mother do it, what happens if there's no mother and no father, God forbid they died, who has to do it? There's a lot of things. What happens if the parents refuse to do it? When the baby becomes bar mitzvah, does he have an obligation to do? There's thousands of questions about Brit Milah. None of them is in the written Torah. What tools you use? All kinds of things. So let's see what the scientist has to teach us about Brit Milah. It says like this. In a physiological way, until the 8th day, the liver recuperating. Once his action is improved, is acting better, In the 8th day, there is enough material in the blood of the baby to clog the blood. What do we call this material that makes the blood close the cut? Vitamin K. Vitamin K in the body is responsible that when a person gets cut, after a minute or two, it's closing the hole that the person will not die. I'll give you an example what I mean. Take 5 liters of blood and put it in a balloon. You know the kids have balloon? Fill it up with 5 liters of blood. Come with a tiny needle, make a hole in the bottom of this balloon. And it begins to drip on the floor. After 20 minutes, all the water will be on the floor. Why? The blood will not close the hole in the balloon. It will continue to drip until nothing was left in the balloon, maybe a few drops. But something strange happened. Person gets cut, no matter where he gets cut in the body, a few minutes later, the blood knows that he has to now close the hole. If not, the person will be dead in an hour or two. So the question is, what creates this phenomena that the blood knows how to behave? So the scientists say vitamin K, it's a very strong element to clogging the blood. Vitamin K reach the level, the necessary level in the 8 days of the life of the human being. But wait a minute, don't be impressed yet. It gets much better now. This is what they discovered. In a research that was published in New York in 1953, it says, before the 8 days of the life of the baby, every day gets higher and higher vitamin K. 10, 20, 35, 40, 50. It's growing every day. When you reach the 8th day, the vitamin K goes to 110%. And the 9th day it goes down to 100% and stay 100% for the rest of the life of a person. Only one day in a person's life he has extra 10% of vitamin K. Which day? The 8th day. No other day in the life of a person. Only one day the Creator knew that he's going to give this mitzvah to the Jewish nation to cut in a baby in the 8th day, so he gave extra 10% vitamin K. That's something that nobody was able to know 3,300 years ago. And this is not religious scientists discovering it. 1953 in New York. This is in the book of Yud Maroz. The name of the book is Hoveh, present, page 61. A secular Israeli writer that brings a research that was done in New York, that it's very interesting. He was impressed discovering that there's only one day extra vitamin K. Now, some people are arguing who made the world. There's many arguments. Who made the world? How old is the world? I don't want to waste the entire night of going into this argument because it's endless argument. Somebody who thinks that the world is more than 6,000 years old, I tell you right now that is wrong. You don't have to believe me. Let's make it quick and short. You're going to my website, divineinformation.com. You're going to see over there lectures not by Rabbi Mizrachi. I put over there 2 films by an American scientist named Robert Gentry. Not a Jew, not religious, not a rabbi, nothing. Robert Gentry is a famous scientist from United States who would prove to you in 1 hour film. It's called Fingerprints of the Creation. In 1 hour film, I did not see one person who watched that film and ever bothered me after that again about the age of the world. After you watch that film, you will know the world is only a few thousand years old. Not, you would believe. You would know 100%. He leaves no doubt. He goes by one way after the other. Everything the scientist speculates, and he proved that it's all speculation, not one proof to the age of the world. Not one proof to the age of the world. All speculation, extrapolations, carbon dating, all this based on assumption, not one solid proof. In every court, if you had to prove in a court beyond reasonable doubt, every one of the scientists would get kicked out of the window in 5 minutes. Why? In court, they want solid proof. Just evidence that looks a little bit like or suspicious, it's not enough to convict a person. It would not pass any test if you look for objective science. And for the age of the world, this is the answer. Fingerprint of the creation by Robert Gentry. But now I'm going to talk about something else. In the world, as I told you, there are billions and trillions of stars. Some of them are 1,000 times bigger than Earth. Our stars is a drop in the universe. Drop. Imagine an ocean, 1 penny in the middle of the ocean. That's more or less our world compared to the space, to the universe. That's something very interesting. The Earth is in the galaxy called the Milky Way. There's 9 stars, shape of a banana, like an arch. And it's looking 1, 2, 3, 9 in the right order. But there's only one star who was moved out of the track to the right. Which star? It's not where he was supposed to be. It moved a little bit to the right. Which star? Earth. Our world was moved from where it was supposed to be. You see 9 stars giving a shape of a banana, like a quarter of a circle. One star was moved. It was put in one place in space, and apparently, if you know a little bit science, this is the only place in universe, in a space, and space is endless, that the Earth was able to be placed. Only there. Let me give you an example what I mean. If I say to you today, let's go on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and I take a quarter out of my pocket, and I throw it to the bottom of the ocean, and I say to you, anyone that would throw a quarter and your quarter will fall on mine in the bottom of the ocean, you'll get $1 billion. What would you say? That I'm a generous guy or no? Then you know for sure I'm not generous, right? I give such a thing that there's no chance whatsoever I lose a penny. Why? What is the chance that your quarter will fall on mine? Is the same odds that the Earth was created where it is by coincidence. Same odds. Why? If the Earth would be a little bit closer to the sun or a little bit far away from the sun, we'd either freeze in a minute or we'd burn in a minute. The only place where God could have put our world in the endless space is the only location where he placed it. And remember, it was supposed to be in the shape of the banana, but it moved because only over here people can live with 70, 80 degrees every day. Anywhere else in the world, you freeze in a second or you burn in a second. Only one place. How people deny such a thing? Only one place the world was able to be placed. Where? Where it is. Something like this can happen by itself? If you think so, I surrender. Okay. What can I do? Now I give you another example. All the materials in nature, when you heat it, it expands. When you freeze it, when you put it in cold temperature, it shrinks. There's only one thing that rebels against the law of nature. What is it? Water. When you heat water, it also expands. It becomes steam. When you freeze it, it shrinks. Only until it gets to 4 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees, it's freezing. When it gets to 4, it begins to freeze. If you know you have 36, 37 degrees in New York, it begins to be snowing, even though it's not 32. 35, already you see snow. It doesn't hold on the ground, but it's already close to freezing. Once the water gets to 4 degrees, which means it's about to become freezing, until now it was shrinking, now it turns around. Against the law of nature. Why? If you continue to behave according to the law of nature, the top of the ocean would freeze and sink to the bottom. And then the top of the ocean would freeze and sink to the bottom. And freeze and sink to the bottom until in a few days, the entire ocean, 72% of the world is water, would be one huge chunk of ice. One huge chunk of ice. All the fish would die. And what happened when the sun comes out? It would be a tsunami that washed the entire world and everyone would die. The only way to prevent such tragedy is for God to tell the water, excuse me, you have to do me a favor. I know the laws of nature. I know the laws of nature is whenever you become colder is to shrink. Over here, if you continue according to the laws of nature, my children would die. So when you get to almost freezing, turn around and behave the opposite of the laws of nature. Let me give you some examples of the Talmud, and then we give some time for questions. All the birds, after they get water from the lake, they pick up their head up for the water to go into their throat, except the dove. From all the thousands of different birds, the dove is sucking without picking up the head. Look, it's knowledge in the Talmud that obviously our rabbis were not Discovery Channel sitting in a safari 6 years. Maybe they see a bird come to drink. Obviously understand that that wasn't the case, right? So if the Chachamim tells you about the nature, how many different kinds of animal we know today in the archives? Do you know? How many different kinds of animals? More than 2 million names. 2 million names. And in each family, who knows how many millions and billions you have? So the world is full of animals. And the Chachamim are giving us information about nature. For instance, the Talmud say, the Torah say to us, everything have fins and scales, a Jew is allowed to eat. If it doesn't have fins and scales, it's not kosher. God didn't want to waste our entire life to read hundreds of thousands of names that lives in the ocean. It will take 700 years to learn all of them. So he gave us a mathematical formula. Everything you pick up from the water, if it has fins and scales, it's kosher. If it doesn't, it's not kosher. Comes the Talmud, the oral Torah, and says, everything that has scales, for sure have fins. You will never find in the entire world, ever, in a history, in the future, ever, you will never find anything that you take out of the water that have scales and you do not see fins in the same body. Which means if one person would pick it up and see a snake with scales like a fish, you scrape it and the scales are falling and the snake doesn't have fins, it has a tail. There will be the first mistake in the oral Torah. And that will create a huge problem for us. Why? We always come and declare a divine book have no room for human errors. If someone would point in a human error anywhere in the world, we will have a very big embarrassment. But thank God 3,300 years it did not happen. And I promise you it won't happen. You know how I know? When it was written, half of the things that lives in the ocean did not even exist. It's something that called achlaot. They constantly mix together. They mix and they create new species, what we call evolution. One species comes out of the other. And the Torah gave a promise. You will never find anything like that has fins and does not have scales. Which means if a Jew is in jail, lo alenu, and the policeman over there give him half a fish, raw, he doesn't see the fins. He see half a fish. He never saw this fish in his life. But he see on this fish that he has scales. Even though he cannot see the second sign with his fins, because it's cut, he can eat it. Why? The oral Torah promise, if it has scales, you can count on it that it had fins. Why? I made them all. I created them. I promise you, I know what I made. And I know what I will never make. That's why I wrote it in my Torah. No person can take such a risk. Just to give you an example, There are more than 80,000 religions and cults that came after Judaism. Some try to imitate the Torah, some try to imitate less. But for instance, you don't find in Quran anything scientific, promises about the world that can indicate that God gave it. Nothing. Same thing in the New Testament. You don't find anything there because they don't have oral Torah. They have a book. You do not find in the entire New Testament, if you watch my debate with a priest a few years ago, you do not find in Christianity anything that indicates that God gave it. Our Talmud is full of thousands of examples that we know 100% that the information there is divine. A person was unable to write it. Only the creator of the world. Why it's important? Because now when a secular Jew who doesn't like religion and doesn't want to listen to the rabbis and he thinks it's all nonsense, when he sees one film, Torah and Science, or another film, then he sees, wait a minute, this book was not written by rabbis like I thought. It was not written by people. It was written by the creator of the world, which apparently also created me. I have to see what he wants from me. So he opened up the Torah, and what does he see? Don't dare to be a violator of Shabbat. Put tefillin every day and say Shema Israel. Dedicate the heart and the brain to me every day when you start your day. Be honest. Don't be a thief. Be modest. Be generous. Help the poor. Respect the nations. Love the converts. And many, many other things. So now he begins to think. Until now, the reason I wasn't interested in religion, because I didn't believe in it. Now, when this guy is supplying me with so many proofs that the Torah could not be written by a person, only by the creator of the world, that changed the entire rules. For most secular people, it works. Of course, we're not magicians. I cannot make someone religious by forcing him with violence. It's not possible. Can only do it in an intelligent way. We bring the proofs. If he has arguments, he can send his arguments. One time when I made my first film 16 years ago, that's why I called my website Divine Information, because we made the first film in a Jewish history for tshuva. There was no films. There was only big video cassettes that came out in those days. There was no DVDs, no CDs, nothing. It was only cassette, audio cassette for hearing. There's all kinds of organization and speaker who speaks of proofs, you know, organizations, but there was nothing to watch, only to hear. And I got lucky. I met a movie producer from Hollywood that was making films for HBO, and I made him shomer mitzvot, made him religious. I proved to him that the Torah is from Hashem. And after that, we made a film together, and that film made many thousands of Jews in Israel and in the world shomer Shabbat and shomer mitzvot. Why? Because we brought none of the proofs that I show you here today. It's in a different, it's my first film, the Torah and Science. I repeated those proofs. But in that film, Informatia Elokit, we show about 10 proofs. And after the film became very popular, one day I got a telephone from a scientist from NASA, Mr. Silverstein. He called me up. I remember where I was driving on a highway. He said, I want you to know that 7 out of your 10 proofs are all nonsense. It's all fake. So I said to him, okay, let's go one by one. After, you know, you're driving, it's not exactly the time to debate someone. I told him, why don't you email me all the proofs, and I'll give you an answer. He emailed me everything. I answered him all 7. 6 he accepted. 1 until today, we're arguing. I mean, we're not in touch anymore. But 6, he admitted. So 6 out of the 7, he backed up. 1 is still arguing. Fine. Nobody said that you have to accept all the proofs. There's so many thousands of proofs. If you take 10 of them, it's enough. How many proofs you need that the Torah could not be written by a human being? 1, it's enough. For a clever person, 1 or 2 proofs, that's it. What do you need more than that? A person was unable to write it, only the creator of the world? Yes. What about this? Yes. Finish. That's it. If you see that in the book you have information from the creator of the world, that means there is a creator to the world. That means the Torah is from him. Enough. Why do I need more than that? Let me give you a few more examples and we finish and give you time for questions. It says like this. בהמת טמאה, impure animal, all the non-kosher animals, once it gives birth, it stays close to the baby that was just born. But if it pushed the baby away, it will never take it back. Never. That's it. There's nothing you can do to fix the situation. Dak tameh, impure fish, fish that doesn't have fins and scales, when he gives birth, it automatically comes out of his stomach. The female is born. But if it's a kosher fish, it gives eggs. And then the fish comes out. The Gemara says, everyone who gives birth, also breastfeed. Everyone who gives birth to eggs is picking up with his beak, except the bat. Bat, which looks like a bird. Bat is different. The Gemara say, Rabbi, the president of Israel that wrote the Mishnah, started to lose his vision. He was 120 years old when he passed away. And when he was very old, he couldn't see. So the Gemara says Shmuel was a specialist in medicine. He made a special paste from all kinds of plants and flowers, and he smeared it in the back of his head when he went to sleep, and he woke up in the morning 20/20. No lenses, no laser surgery, $3,000, no pain, no nothing. Why? They had knowledge. Some of their knowledge we don't have today. Then, you know what it means? That the paste penetrates the brain and did something inside the brain that affected the vision of the person. That's very complicated. The Gemara says, David HaMelech, I told you that before, made a surgery to his soldiers, removed their splint. This is in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 21. Also over there, that he made cuts in the feet of his soldiers. Chazal, our sages, used to make surgeries to remove the wound of the cows. When they had problems, they made a surgery removing the entire wounds. This is 2,000 years ago. They didn't have the surgery room like today, $10 million room. It was in a primitive atmosphere there. Also, the Gemara says, there are kids who are yotzei dofen. In Hebrew, in modern Hebrew, when you want to say exceptional, you use the word yotzei dofen. Yotzei dofen means an exception to the rule. What does it mean literally, yotzei dofen? It means he came from the side. They used to make cesarean surgeries and take the babies out of their mother to save the life of the baby and the mother. We today are so impressed by cesarean, how the doctors are doing it. The Gemara is speaking about babies that were born yotzei dofen, that you don't need to do redemption from the Kohen. You don't need to do pidyon haben. If it was born in a surgery, so you see 2,000 years ago, the rabbis used to make surgeries and take babies out without the equipment that they have today in the hospitals, without $2,000 a month health insurance. You come, Rabbi, I have to give birth and I cannot normally do it. No problem, come tomorrow for free. No problem. You don't need $25,000 from the health insurance. It's okay. And one more thing. Rabbi Meir say, once the placenta came out in a miscarriage, that's a sign that there was a baby inside. That's in Masechet Nida, page 27. Then Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai say that when you mix between seeds of plants, you want to mix, right? So like genetic mixing, if it did not mix in 3 days, it will never get mixed ever again. 3 days, that's the maximum it can mix. I'll tell you something very interesting. You know, the geffen, the grape tree, it's a very soft bush. And it needs something to climb on. It cannot stand by itself. So you put pieces of wood and it grows. If you put seeds in the ground for grapes, you cannot mix them with any other seeds. The nation of Israel compared to the seeds of the grapes. How you cannot mix the grapes with any other seeds. The nation of Israel have no permission from God to mix with any other nation in the world. Same thing, the only way for the grape to grow is to climb on something. What is this something? Dead wood. Pieces of wood are stuck in the ground, and the living wood is growing on the top of the dead wood. To show us the Jewish nation only have a future if they base their future on the dead rabbis. From the Talmud, from the Rambam, all the ones who taught us all the Torah. We don't have 1,000,000% of their knowledge today, but they knew everything. They gave their entire life for it, and there was nothing else to do in those days. No internet, no Facebook, no burning their life on newspapers and sports and this, nothing. From the day one until the day they died, they learned Torah all their life, as you can see in the Talmud. And the brains were on a much higher level than today. There was no electric. There was really nothing to do. You can only sit with some lamp, with some oil, and learn. There's nothing else. Everything else was very boring in life. So they learned the entire Torah. We see that rabbis that lived 150 years ago, all the commentators of the last 150 years ago, such as Rabbi Akiva Iger and others, they knew the entire Talmud, thousands of pages, word by heart. Word by word. You can see based on their comments. They wrote in the side of the Gemara, each subject that they learned in the Talmud, they wrote on the side how many times it appears in the entire Talmud and where. Without Google searching. Everything was in the head. This is a different world. Today there's some ignorant people who doesn't know 1,000,000% of Torah, but they know how to give a lot of speeches against Chazal. If one of the sages would live here today, everyone would bow down to them. Why? Nobody ever saw such a person. Even the Rambam in Washington, the Gentiles made a big statue of the Rambam over there, Maimonides. Why? It was such a legend that even the Gentiles admire him. But what the Gentiles in Washington do not know, that the Rambam is 1%, not even, of any one of the rabbis who mentioned in the Talmud. If they wanted Washington to have some fair statues, they have to fill up the entire Washington with rabbis from the Talmud. The entire Washington should have been. And then, if they have some room left, they put the Rambam and Rashi and all the rest. Why? They do not understand. They know Rambam because he was also a philosopher, an astronomer, a mathematician, a doctor, so they gave him credit. But the rabbis in the Talmud is 100 or 1,000 times greater. So, like I said, I can give you examples from now until tomorrow. I'm going to give you now the last final one, and then I open up the time for questions. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah, page 6. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Jacob and Esau were brothers, came from the same mother, Rebecca. What happened? Jacob said to God, Dear God, don't let my brother Esau succeed in his mission. If he will succeed, it will become the Germany of Edom. This was written 2,000 years ago. There's no Germany in the world, in case you know history. And what does it say? In the Talmud, in Masechet Megillah, page 6, this will become Germany of Edom. And then the Gemara say, Amar Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, another one of the rabbis in the Talmud. 300 tribes are in Germany of Edom. This is information in the Talmud 2,000 years ago approximately. Let's see, the Yalkut Shimoni was written approximately 1,800 years ago. This is what it says. The conversation of Jacob to God, Germany, those are the children of Barbaria and Germania. This is in the Talmud, in the Yalkut Shimoni, 1,800 years ago. There's no Germany in the world yet, at all. Now let's see a little bit from the encyclopedia. Let's see what the encyclopedia has to tell us about Germany. The political collapse of Germany had an outstanding impact. The 300 tribes and the free city kept their independence severely and made the trade very difficult. Germany came completely out of the financial world and did not take a part from the colonial development that was done in Europe by the 17th and 18th century. This is in the Hebrew Encyclopedia by the word Germany, page 432. And you know, they copy everything from other encyclopedias. So, here the word of Adolf Hitler, Imach Shimo, in an interview that they made with him while he was still alive. It's published in Conversations with Hitler, Browsings. There's Browsings. They publish it in the Hebrew Encyclopedia in the word antisemitism, antisemiyut, page 530. You can go and read it over there. This is the words of Hitler. Omnam ken barbarim anu. It's true. We are barbarians. It's an honor for us to be barbarian. I release mankind from the spiritual cords and from the tortures and humiliation and illusion that call conscious and ethic. Two defects Judaism brought to the world. One in a human body by circumcision, and one in the soul by inventing conscience. And this is nothing by the Jewish invention. The war for the control in the world is only between both of us, the Germans and the Jews, and everything else is all nonsense. This is the words of Hitler. Now Hitler didn't know exactly who Esav was, his grandfather. He didn't know. But if you really analyze what he said, this is exactly the words of Chazal. Chazal say Jacob and Esav already fighting in a wound of Rivka. What did Shem told her? She went to the rabbi, Shem. Someone who hates Jews, his name is anti-Semite, anti-Shemi. Why? Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Yefet. The Jews came from Shem. The rest of the world came from Ham and Yefet. When Rivka came to Shem, was Rosh Yeshiva, he told her, 2 nations are in your stomach. One righteous, one wicked. And what happened? Jacob is Torah and ethics and conscience, and Esav, murder, hunting, power. The yadayim yedei Esav, the hands of Esav, the Torah say, and the mouth is the mouth of Jacob. This is the war between the truth and the false in this world. Jacob and Esav. And this is the words of Hitler, not knowing what he's saying even. He didn't even understand what he says, exactly the words of Chazal. But I will finish with just one last thing, which is connects to this about the Holocaust. Recently, in the last 3 months, a group of people started to criticize me for speaking about the Holocaust. I don't have a problem arguing with anyone, as you know me for 20 years. Everyone is welcome to come to me and ask me questions, and in thousands of my lectures, people asking me questions. None of the questions are prepared. I speak live on the radio, people calling and asking questions. I answer email within minutes. I'm not hiding. Anyone who has questions is more than welcome to come and ask the questions. The problem begins when some people that have no idea, even 1% of what they're talking about, they have the guts to give lectures about topics that they have no idea what they're talking about. When you criticize someone, you have to check first his source before you criticize it. Maybe it's the same Torah that you believe in, or you claim that you believe in. This is the words of the Torah in Deuteronomy 31. It's Parashat Vayelech. Everyone is welcome to go and read it. Don't say Rabbi Mizrachi said. I'm not God and I'm not the judge in this world, and I never intended to be. And if you suspect me that I think I'm the judge in the world, okay, that's your right. But I promise you I'm not. So this is only what I say is, first of all, what all the chief rabbis in all the world in the last 60 years are saying. Nothing is new. I did not invent America. And this is what the Torah says. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and God said to Moshe, you're going to lay, after you passed away, with your fathers. And one day, this nation, speaking about the nation of Israel, will come and rebel against me by following a different God in the countries where they would live. And they would leave me and break the covenant that I made with them. And at that time, I will get very angry at them. And I would leave them. Ve'azaftim, I would leave them. Ve'istarti panai mehem, I close my eyes and my face, and I'm not gonna look at them. And there would be food for the nations. And many tragedies would come to them. And at that day, they will scream, there is no God among us. And all the tragedies are coming to us. And I, who is speaking? God. I will hide completely. Astir panai mehem bayom hahu. At that day, I will completely disappear. No God over there. What they say, it's true. I won't be there. I would leave them completely. Many people asking me thousands of times in the past, where was God in the Holocaust? The answer, he wasn't there. If he was there, nothing would happen the way it happened. Why he wasn't there? Because he warned us that if we leave his covenant and we won't listen to him, he will do the same to us. We left him and he left us. Now, I'm not going to analyze exactly what happened in Europe with the intermarriage and all kinds of problems and fighting against the goyim in business, what brought to us what, because only God knows the entire picture, and nobody knows exactly all the details. But I'm only reading what the Torah says. This, every Jew has permission. To read what the Torah says, no one should be afraid of. No one. If somebody comes and argue with you, read. Tell them, I'm reading from the Torah. Where is your source? Your belief, your illusions, your imaginations. You stick with your imagination. I'll stick to the text. The text against people's imagination, the text is more reliable. And this is what it says. It says, "V'anochi astir panai mehem bayom hahu." I'm going to hide my face. Al kol hara'a asher asa, for all the bad that they did to me. Now, you may say, okay, there are many tragedies in the history. How do you know for sure he's speaking about the Nazis? How do you know he's speaking about the Holocaust? Maybe it was the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans. Maybe it's what the Babylonians did. Maybe it's all the pogroms in the last 2,000 years. There's some pogroms, 100,000 here, 10,000 there, 5,000 there. It's lots of tragedies to the Jewish nation. The answer is, inside the Torah, there is something that's called codes. Hidden mathematical codes. When the Torah begins, Bereshit bara Elokim ta shamayim v'et haaretz, in the beginning God created heaven and earth. Bereshit, from the Taf of Bereshit, Bereshit finished with the letter Taf. You circle the Taf, you count 49 letters, you get the letter Vav. You count 49 letters, you get the letter Resh. You count 49 letters, you get the letter Hey. The word Torah is hidden inside the text, right in the beginning of the Torah, in equal mathematical skip. Taf, Vav, Resh, Hey. 49, 49, 4. Why 49? 7 times 7. 7, it's a holy number. 49, 49, 49, 49. You come and say, okay, coincidence. You go to the second book of Moses. Ve'ele shmot bnei Israel. Those are the names of the Jews who came to Egypt. Ve'ele shmot, the word shmot, finish with Taf. You circle the Taf, you count 49 letters, you get Vav. You count 49 letters, you get Resh. You count 49 letters, you get Hey. Again, the word Torah in equal mathematical skip of 49. Now, let's go to the last book, Deuteronomy, Dvarim. you have the word Torah from left to right in reverse, equal mathematical skip of 49. You go to Numbers, Sefer Bamidbar, again Torah from left to right in equal skip of 49. So what do we have? We have Bereshit and Shmot, Genesis and Exodus, 49 from right to left, the word Torah. Then we have Numbers and Deuteronomy from left to right, 49. And Leviticus, which is the middle, the center of the world, the middle one out of the 5. You have the word of God, Yud, Hey, Vav, and A, in equal skip, right there in the middle. So what do we see here? An amazing things. The entire Torah from A to Z has a pattern inside, a hidden text that is hidden, and that's the answer to some ignorant critics who claim that the Torah have more than one writer. The Torah has only one writer from the beginning to the end. Why? If it would be one writer and he died, and someone else come and continue, he will never know the code that is hidden in a text, because we only found it 20 years ago with computers. Without computers, we would not find it. And in the part that I read to you about the tragedy that will happen to the Jewish nation, unfortunately, the word Holocaust is hidden in equal mathematical skip of 49. This is it. וקם העם הזה וזנה אחרי אלוהי נכר, הארץ אשר הוא בא שמה. Remember, this is Deuteronomy 31 from verse 16 to verse 18. Go home to the Hebrew strict, look at the word Shama, Shama, Shin, Mem, Hey. Circle the Shin. Count 49 letters. Start with the word Moshe. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. And God say to Moses, Moshe is finishing with Hey. You take the Hey of Moshe, you circle it. You count 49 letters, you get the word Shama. You circle the Shin. You count 49 letters, you get Vav. You circle the Vav. You count 49 letters, you get Aleph. You circle the Aleph. You count 49 letters, you get Hey. Ha-Shoah, the Holocaust, is hidden in 3 verses in the Torah that God said to Moshe, one day I would leave the Jews and put them in the hand of the evil Nazis or whatever you want to call them, and I would not be there. And that's why it happens. What brought us this horrible tragedy? It wasn't a prize. All these people who criticize, do you have a better alternative? What are you claiming, that the Holocaust was a prize? That what, that God gave us a gift? What are you claiming? I don't understand. What's in their mind when they're arguing? What are they thinking, that the Holocaust was a prize? Was it coincidence? What are they claiming, that God just have a roulette and he turned it around and it fell on a bad number, so he decided to kill millions? What are they claiming? I don't understand. A little bit decency, a little bit honesty. You can hate the speaker, you don't like what he say, but do you have anything to contradict? No, just talking and barking nonstop. The answer is, remember, I don't say anything from my own. I don't remember once I brought something on my own. If it's something that I say on my own, I say it based on my personal opinion, but it's very rare that it happens. All the lectures I read, where do you think I get the ideas what to say? I have lots of books. I go over the books, I mark, I put it in my black notebook, which is right here. As you can see, thousands of headlines. I mark myself what to say, where I took it from, and that's what I say. Now you criticize me, you don't criticize me. You criticize the Rambam, you criticize the Ari, you criticize the Gemara, you criticize the Zohar. Some of these people admit that they don't believe in the Zohar. The chief rabbi of Israel, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, say, someone who does not believe in the Zohar is a kofar, is a apikors, he cannot be a part of the minyan, cannot count in one of the 10. If this is my criticizers, fine, let them criticize. I stick to the text, I stick to the facts. You don't like it, I also don't like it. What do they think, that I'm happy that it happens? What's on their mind? I don't understand. What are they thinking, that I enjoy that it happened? That I come and I joy about it? That I dance about it? What's in their mind? Do you know one normal person in the world, even non-Jew, that is happy about this? It's the biggest tragedy in the modern days. So what are they? So we're saying what happened to us to learn that it would not happen to us again, God forbid. Somebody smart learns from the past, doesn't try again and again and again to repeat the same mistake. If the Torah say, God say in the Torah why it would happen. Why? We left him. We became ungrateful. We started to marry all the nations. We started to leave the Torah. We did horrible things to the nations where we lived there. And they hated us so much, and that's how it ended, unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to open up now, time for questions. Please, any questions you have, feel free to ask. Yeah. Yes. A little bit louder, please. Yes.
German cars, which is there.
I tell you something. I never bought German car, and Be'ezrat Hashem, I will never buy German car. But to come and say that is not allowed, I can't, because there's no such a clear law against it. It's just human logic. A nation that gave so much hard time to us, to give them a price for it, it's not something I want to do. People who buy German cars, it's up to them. I cannot say that someone that buy a German car is wicked. I can't, because I don't have a source for it.
We allowed to buy more Japanese cars than during World War II. Japanese were much more loyal.
I tell you what, the question is if it's good to buy German cars or even Japanese cars because they allied with the Nazis in a war. I tell you what's the answer for those who buy it. They say it's not the same German. It was 3 generations ago. Some of these Germans who made Mercedes today, not only they're not happy of what happened, they're ashamed for what happened. If it was up to them, if there was 2 buttons over there, to eliminate the Holocaust or to keep it on, most of them probably would click, let's go back in history, that it would not happen. So why they have to pay for something that their grandparents did? That's one point. Second, Japanese, same story. Plus, why should we act as God? In the end, everyone gets what they deserve. We need to have patience. If it's not here, it's in the afterlife. Everyone gets what they deserve in the end. So if the car is good, if there's no other cars, fine. If a person wants to buy it, I will be the last one who...
It's okay?
I said, I would not buy it. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. But people who buys it, they have what to count on. Shh, more questions. Shh. But please, when there's questions, I cannot have people talking. Shh.
70% of used car, German in the United States.
Could be. That's true. That's true. Okay. There are more important topics than car here. Yes. Wait. Shh. 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 Louder. It's very noisy here.
Part of vote, it says, nullify your will to the Most High, and He will make your will as it is.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, I tell you what it means. It says in Pirkei Avot, "Aser retzoncha keretzono." Make your wish as God's wish, which means we have our wishes and He has His wishes. With the help of our evil inclination, most of the time what we want to do, it's against what He wants us to do. We want physical desires. That's not what He wants. We want to steal. That's not what He wants. We want to cheat. That's not what He wants. We want to work on Shabbat. That's not what He wants. We want to insult a person. That's not what He wants. We want not to listen to all His strict laws. That's not what He wants. So the idea is that a person that had a contradiction between what he wants to what God wants, he has to know that this is the time for sacrifice. I have to do what my Maker wants, not what my desire wants. You understand? This is what it means. If a person gets to this level that he always does what God wants him to do and eliminate his wish, then he's in a very high level of righteousness. Yes?
Okay, I want to go back to your comment about the Torah codes. And I was once a Christian. I left the church. And it was because of what was in the Tanakh and the scriptures. And I can prove in the Tanakh how Judaism is correct and how it was altered. But when we go to the Torah codes, or they call it the Bible codes, there's a problem. In Isaiah 54, 3, it does, they show how it says that their God is...
No, let
How do we determine...
let me tell you what it is. The codes in the Torah, there is a real way to present it and a fake way. What does it mean? It's only one word different that make the entire thing false. In order for the codes to be legit, this is what the computer has to search for: equal, mathematical, minimal, skip. Minimal. If you take out the minimal out of the formula, you can find whatever you want. Many Christians and others, they play with that and they find all kinds of false things and fooling the people. Why? 10,000 letters different between one word to another, 20,000, 15,000, 7,000. Like this, you can find whatever you want. We're not talking about this kind of random codes. We're telling the computer, only show me the minimal codes. Codes equal 7, 49, 26, you know, that it's all in one area. Why? When I put in the Torah Adolf Hitler and it finds it in one page, and when I put Adolf Eichmann and it finds it in the same page, and when I put Rudolf Hess and it finds it in the same page, and all the words that connects to the Shoah all appear in one chapter, then you know it's not coincidence. But if one letter is in the beginning of Genesis, one letter is in Leviticus, and one letter is in Deuteronomy, that's not a plan. This is random. Random, you can find whatever you want. We're talking only minimal. Christians that use the codes, they don't use minimal. They fool you. They show you on the screen all kinds of words. But if you look at the first row, and then you go to the second row, you see that the first row is from one chapter, and the second row is thousands of letters after. It's not the same page. It looks on the screen as one page, but it's not the same page. Yes?
So you're saying that there's a lot of hidden secrets in the oral Torah. So I was wondering, does it say anything? I'm sure it does, but Mashiach is to come, anything that we should know? Is it already here?
Okay, now no one would know when Mashiach would come because it's not a part of the plan. The opposite, God doesn't want people to know where Mashiach would come. Why? If people knows when Mashiach comes, it will eliminate the free choice. I'll give you an example. Let's look at all of us. Let's say right now, we would find in the Torah that Mashiach would come in 20 years from now. So what do we say? Oh, we have 20 years to celebrate. What's the rush? We'll do whatever we want for 18 years. The last 2 years before Mashiach comes, we'll take all our money. We give it all charity. We start learning Torah non-stop. We quit work. We become modest. We keep Shabbat 100%. We give tzedakah to all the poor. We basically will be perfect for the last year or two, and that's it. And everyone is Baal Tshuva. So what's the point of living now, 16, 17 years? We know there's time. God doesn't want us to know the future. Nobody knows the future unless if he receives a clear prophecy from Hashem. I can only tell you that the Talmud says that after the destruction of the second temple, there's no more prophets. The prophecies goes for little children and for retarded people, people that the brain cannot function. We have some books today in Israel that was written that they communicated with autistic kids in the last 20 years. They found a way in New Zealand and in England and in Australia, all of them in the same year, in the last 20 years, that autistic kids started to punch sentences on computer, even though for years they were trying to teach them to say one word, and they couldn't say it. And all of a sudden, when they brought computers to the school, they started to punch complete sentences. For instance, in New Zealand, an autistic kid punched, "I love you," to his teacher. And she went crazy. She said, how can it be? He just typed 3 words. We tried to teach him 1 word for so long because the brain doesn't function. And then at that time, they realized that the autistic kids is not what we used to think they are. Today, with the help of the Torah and with the help of some famous autistic kids in Israel that we communicated with them, we know today that they say, based on what they say, that they are already very close to their correction. They almost made the full correction for their souls. They have 1% left. And they came to this world for X amount of years. They cleaned the soul completely here because they don't have a free choice like us. And therefore, there's no reward and punishment for them anymore. They're beyond that stage. And they finish their tikkun, and they go express to heaven. When I said to the autistic kid, when he told me that he suffered 1,000 tortures per minute, so I told him, I feel very bad for you. So he answered me, feel bad for yourself, not for me. My situation is much better than all of you. I have only very little to correct. You still, all of you, have still a long way to go. So it's the opposite of what people think. People think, oh, they brain damage, they cannot function, they don't understand. No, they understand everything. I have few videos that show you scientifically that they communicate with some of them and they say things. For instance, when I went to the autistic kids, I don't know, about 15, 16 years ago, he told me things that there's no question in the world that a person cannot know. First of all, he described to me the entire intifada. This is about to happen with the Arabs. And right after that, it started. Second of all, he told me to bring a friend of mine. And I brought that friend. And when I brought that friend inside, through the communication, that friend found out that his wife never got a get from her ex-husband. She's still a married woman. And then he went and investigated, and he found out she presented someone with a fake ID. And she was actually a married woman to a person that doesn't even know where his wife is. She escaped from that state. She came to New York. She presented a fake get, everything fake. And in the end, he tells, the autistic kid told him, "Ishtecha eshet ish." So they know things that none of us would ever know. You take this woman to any rabbi, would they know she's still married to a man somewhere else? So they know obviously things that nobody else knows. I tell you, for the first time I heard about autistic kids, I had a guest from Philadelphia in my house, and he came to my house for Shabbat, and this is what he told me. He told me, "You're not going to believe what happened to me 2 weeks ago." I said, "What?" He said, "I went to Israel. I had a computer, and I needed to buy a part, and they told me the importer is in Zichron Yaakov. There's a place, Zichron, in a little bit north of Tel Aviv. He said, you have to go to this address." So he said, I went to that address, and there's a store over there for the computer, and I saw a bunch of kids around one kid. The kid was autist, and all the other kids, regular kids around him. So every kid comes to him and say, "Ech korim li? What's my name?" And the autistic kids knew the names of all the people. Everyone who came, Moshe, Yitzchak, Yaakov. So this guy, who was my guest for Shabbat, his name is Yossi. So he came to him, he said, "Ech korim li? What's my name?" He told him, Yossi. He got the shock of his life. So how did he know? First time I come to Zichron in my life. Then what happened is, when he bought the part and he was on the way to go back to Tel Aviv, he saw a religious man with a black hat. He's looking for a ride. So he gave him a ride, and he was so excited. So he told him, "You know what just happened to me? I just went to buy these parts, and this kid's around this kid, and he knows the names of everyone." So he said to him, "Oh, my son is like this. That's why we live here, because there is yeshiva of autistic kids in Zichron." In the meantime, they moved to Yerushalayim today. But at that time, there was in Zichron Yaakov. So he said, "If you want, I can take you to my house. You can communicate with him. He knows things." So he went to this person's house, and he communicated with that autistic kid. Now, this autistic kid never saw him. When my friend went into the house, he told him, "You have to get rid of your business in America." So he told him why. He told him, "You sell fake diamonds and fake golds to your customers, and since you are so busy with fake lifestyle, it made you a fake Jew." He started to attack him, the kid. And he never told him that he has a fake jewelry store. And that's when the first time I heard there's something special about these autistic kids. You understand? So now, here is an example. I'm the one that praised the autistic kids more than any person on earth. Nobody praised them more than me in the last 15 years. What did I get in return? They made a film against me that I put down autistic kids and I make fun of them. You understand how evil these people are? At least stick to the truth 1%. I don't tell you to say only 100% true. 1% stick to the truth. He make fun, he hurts their feeling. By the way, my best friend in America is an autistic kid. And every Friday we bring him all kinds of religious newspaper and food. because he's in a special place in Muncie. We take care of him because his father lives far away, like it's our own son. So to come to claim that I have something against this is total stupidity. But this is it. You live in a world of lies, and every lie in the internet is running free as much as they want. Yes?
You discussed a couple of weeks already. Why we cannot wear the linen with the wool?
Why we're not allowed to wear wool and linen? The answer is, God said to Cain and Hevel, bring a sacrifice to me. Cain was a farmer, so he cut the linen from the field. Linen grows in a field, looks like cotton. He bought it. Hevel was a shepherd. He cut the wool from the best sheep. God accepted the sacrifice of Hevel, which was the wool. Cain got jealous. He killed his brother Hevel. God said, because of wool and linen, the first murder in my creation happened. They will never mix together ever again. So therefore, Jews are not allowed to wear anything that has wool and linen. Every suit or every garment that is made from wool, even if it's say 100% wool, has to be taken to a specialist. Usually it's by the tailor shops, shatnez. They check inside, they check the color, they check the buttons. In the fancy suit especially, they sew it with good linen strings. Why? Because they are much stronger. And also they put a special net from linen inside the collar that it won't get wrinkled. So it takes 5 minutes to check. It costs $6, $7, whatever it costs. And a person can check. If a person wear it, every second it's a sin from the Torah. Every second. And all his prayers are not accepted. While he's wearing it, his prayers are not accepted. Now, usually... I'll tell you what. If a person was about to drink something and I put poison in his cup and he didn't know, what would happen?
Still die.
Still die, right? If a person doesn't know, it doesn't change reality. Maybe the punishment that he will get in the afterlife would be a lot less because he didn't know, but reality is reality. Same thing when we eat not healthy food, it's affecting us. Whether we know or not know, it doesn't matter. Okay, more questions? Yes? Oh, wigs, it's a very problematic issue today in the religious world. Some rabbis allow it, some rabbis does not allow it. The rabbis that allows it, or allow it only when it's not too long, it's short, it's not going all the way like some of these fancy schmancy wigs. So it has to be modest. The purpose of the wig to make the woman more modest, not more attractive. So now, if a woman wear a long fancy wig, even though she fulfilled the first obligation as a married woman must cover her hair, she fulfilled one obligation by creating another problem. So you fix one problem with another problem, which means she does cover her hair, you cannot deny it, but she creates problem with her modesty, which is even a bigger problem, because modesty for a woman is the most important thing. That's why when a woman finally wants to put a wig, do it right. Do it short, straight, not too fancy schmancy, curls, all kinds of hair, all kinds of curls. Don't do it in order for you to be more attractive to the people on the street. Yes. Now, yes.
Can I answer your question? From what I heard, it doesn't really matter how you cover it because it doesn't really say or how we're supposed to cover it, but that we're just supposed to cover it.
That's the answer of those who allowed wigs. They said because the Torah did not say how to cover, the Torah said to cover, so whatever she covers with, she covers. But the Torah also said that a woman must be modest in a public. She shouldn't do things to attract more attention to her. She should do things to attract less attention to her. That's a part of modesty. So if a woman put a very fancy puffy wig, you and I understand that it attracts a lot more attention to her. And I'll give you an example that I'm right. If a woman that has a very fancy wig, she would land in an island with her private jet accidentally, and there's no people over there. And it's all baboons and chimpanzees and some elephants. Do you think she would care about her wig? No, she wouldn't care about her wig. Why? Because no men around. There's no people to look and to give her compliments. she always liked to put it in a place where the Yetzer Hara tell her, come on, put your show. It's a wedding. It's your chance to show that, you know, you're the prettiest woman here. That's the way the Yetzer Hara is. So, better to cover completely. Woman that is difficult for her, she can put a wig because these big rabbis will allow it. But no rabbi allowed the fancy long wigs that we have today. Then you cannot find one kosher rabbi in the world that allows it. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, 60, 70 years ago, he said, first woman came to Yerushalayim with a wig that was wool from the sheep glued on a piece of rubber. I promise you, no woman in Denver would dare to wear it 1 second. Even for a second, that accidentally nobody will take a picture of this strange wig. And Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said that the religious people in Yerushalayim held rocks and started to stone her and tell her, get out of Yerushalayim. Don't make the place impure. And Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said, even a blind person saw that it's a wig, that it's just a wool, you know. A blind person saw it. But the people got so angry. But today, 2 generations later, it became already normal, everyone wear it, fine. The question is what's next? And another one, and another one. The idea is that Hashem wants the ladies to be modest. The more modest they are, the better it is for them. That's it, end of story. More quick, yeah, right there.
When I was in yeshiva, my rabbi told me that the laws doesn't keep Shabbat until you're growing.
Yes.
Why is that?
The laws in the Torah, he said when he was in yeshiva, his rabbi told him that a Jew that doesn't keep Shabbat is considered to be a goy, a non-Jew. The answer is, your rabbi is right. That's what the book of law, Shulchan Aruch, said in 7 different places. The Torah say in 12 different places in the Torah that the eternal covenant that we made with God is Shabbat. Now the Torah says, clearly, Mechaleleha, the ones who does not keep Shabbat, lose their share to the world to come. The soul gets cut out of the afterlife. He does not get permission to go where the kosher Jews go. He cannot enter there. Only if he's a Shomer Shabbat, he will have the share to the place where God promised every Jew. If he refused to keep Shabbat, he cannot go there. Unless if he made tshuva. If he made repentance before he died, so he can save himself from the punishment, but he will not get back all the Shabbatot that he lost. No one will return the wheel back for him that he can keep now another 1,000 Shabbatot. But I want to tell you why it's like this. When I make a VIP club, and I want everyone that wants to join my club, I make conditions. I say, you want to come to my VIP club? Only black suits. Only bow tie. Only nice dress shoes. No sneakers. No leather. No smoking. You have to have $1 million in your bank account and you have to prove it. And if not, we're not permitting you in. I made a list of requirements. Now, you come and you do not keep the laws in order for you to be eligible to enter my VIP club. So now I say to you, okay, these are the conditions. You came with sneakers, ripped jeans, some cigarettes, and you don't have even 50 cents in your bank account. I'm very sorry. Those are the rules. You're violating the rules. So you cannot enter my VIP club. So you tell me, it's not fair. You're so evil. You're so cruel. What is this? You telling me that I cannot be in a VIP club? Now let's say we call the people in a VIP club the Ruvenis. Ruvenis. We made a name to the club. So you telling me I'm not a Ruveni? You telling me? I say, so who else will tell you? I made the rules. I said, you want to be a Jew, rule number 1, you must keep the agreement. What's the agreement? Shabbat. You don't want to keep, it's your choice. Why are you complaining to me? It's not even a punishment. You took a scissor and cut the wire from the electric outlet. No charge. So now you come and say, it's not fair. Why are you punishing me? I'm not punishing you. I told you, if you keep my covenant, which means it's Shabbat, it's a sign between you and me for eternity, then you belong to my nation. You don't keep it, I cut you out. But I don't cut you, you cut yourself, because all you had to do is to keep it, and you were more than welcome. So your Rabbi was right, but the problem is that today you cannot tell the truth to people. Why? If you tell the truth to people, half of them get angry right away. And then, if the ordinary people get angry, no, it was always like that. People got angry at Moshe, people got angry at the prophets. The problem today that there are people who call themselves rabbis, I don't know how they dare, that they tell people, you're good, you're not Shomer Shabbat, you're good. They don't tell them that the first Mechalel Shabbat was Tzlofchad in the Torah. There was one Jew who violated Shabbat. It was the second Shabbat in the creation. Everyone kept the first Shabbat. The second Shabbat, there was 5 weeks before they got the Torah. The Torah wasn't given yet. Shabbat was given as soon as they came out of Mitzrayim. There was 7 weeks until we got the Torah. First Shabbat, the entire nation of Israel kept. Second Shabbat, one Jew, Tzlofchad, went and picked up some straws on Shabbat. He violated Shabbat. Moshe didn't know what to do with him. So he put him in jail until God would tell him what to do with him. And after that, it's in the Torah, read in the Torah. God said to Moshe, take him out and execute him to death, that everyone would see what I think that a Mechalel Shabbat should get. And it's in the Torah. I did not write the Torah. Nobody can come and say, the rabbi said this and this and that. I did not write the Torah. Read in the Torah. There was one Jew. He violated Shabbat. Hashem said to Moshe, kill him. And that's by the law, always the same law. Why today we don't execute people? Because we don't have Sanhedrin. We don't have Bet HaMikdash. But it doesn't mean that people who does it deserve a prize. They are in the hand of God. He will decide what to do with them whenever. Some people do not know what Shabbat is. They grew up in Russia, in places that there was no Judaism. They just found out they're Jewish when they were 40 or 50. It's very difficult to judge this kind of people. I'm sure God will have tolerance for them and more patience than someone who grew up in yeshiva or in Bnei Brak. But we should not count on a miracle. Each Jew should know that to keep Shabbat is the best pleasure. It's the greatest fun in life. Everyone gathered together, the whole family, people eat the best food, they wear the nicest things, they come to shul, they meet all the friends, they have time to rest, they clean their head from all the headache. Plus, it's a spiritual great feeling. Number 1 city in the world with the smallest amount of heart attacks is Bnei Brak. 99% of the people there are fully Orthodox. There's less heart attack in Bnei Brak than any other city in the whole world. You know why? Because people don't have stress constantly. Media, news, telephone, driving, traffic, this problem, fighting, arguing. Shabbat, a day of rest. It gives time for the heart to rest. It gives time to the brain to rest. It gives a person a way to recharge himself for another week. Plus, it's mandatory. Whether we like it, we don't like it, it's not relevant. I tell you from experience, it's great fun. But even if it wasn't, this is what God said to do, and that's what we have to do. And also, you should know, check in the Torah. Who do you think gets a bigger punishment according to the Torah? Do you think there is any sinner in the entire Torah that gets a bigger punishment than someone who doesn't keep Shabbat? The answer is no. The worst punishment in the Torah is for someone who violates Shabbat. Why? Because it's very important in the eyes of God. Very important. That's why He did everything to make it so clear that we must keep this 7 day. Why? Because He made the world in 6 days, and in the 7 days He rested. He did not do anything. He said to us, I want you to be like me. I want you to publish my name to the world, that the whole world would know that the world wasn't created from an explosion like the fools are saying. The world was created by me. I made it. I planned everything. I ran the show. I control the world and I watch you all the time. עין רואה ואוזן שומעת וכל מעשיך בספר נכתבים. There's an eye who watch over you. There's an ear who listens to you. And everything you do is recorded in the book of God. So it's not songs, you know, that you go to learn how to become a musician. This is the book of God here. So when God say to you, I'm watching you every day, every night, every second, that means it's all recorded. We want, when we leave this world, that our video will be beautiful, will smell great, will be nice. Before I finish, if you have more questions, you can ask me. Oh, I see. I don't want you to say that I went too long. All right, go ahead. Shh. Yeah, yeah. Shh. What? Well, we are arguing. I tell you the truth, it's been more than 10 years since that argument. I have to go over the emails to see one of the things that I brought to him. Actually, it was very convincing what I told him. I don't know why he was still skeptic about it. From all the things that for instance, one of the questions he asked me about the Western world. He said, you said that the Western world will never fall. But the wall, this wall wasn't the original wall of Bet HaMikdash. So I say to him, do you know when was it written? So I say it was written 1800 years ago in Midrash Shir HaShirim. So when it was written by Chazal, what wall was standing in the wall? Only one. This wall. There's no other walls. So which wall Chazal talked about? This is the wall they're speaking about. And Chazal said this wall will never fall. So what's the arguments about? Chazal wrote it 1800 years ago. The Bet HaMikdash was destroyed almost 2,000 years ago. At least 100 years before it was written. And it's promising that if the world would fall, that will be the first mistake. Because Chazal say, here is the wall who's standing, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu swore to this wall that it will never collapse. Why? The Shekhinah is me'amarav, Hashem is protecting this wall. And all the other walls were destroyed, and this wall standing constantly year after year. So he said, you're right. Obviously, they spoke about it. So this was argument. He argued with me about the stars. He said that there was some research who showed that it's 10 to the power of 21, and I showed that it's 10 to the power of 18. So I told him, you as a scientist should know better than me that I'm not coming to say that what the scientists say is true. They themselves come up with different numbers all the time. There is satellites who take pictures of galaxy, and the mega computer count all the dots, and in the end it comes up with a number. But every time it comes up with a different number because it's very difficult not to miss stars. So I say, I don't care what really their number is. I only care about one thing. When it was written in the Talmud, people thought there's only 6,000 stars. That's it. And now all of a sudden we see trillions. That's all. How the Torah was able to know there's such a number. So, you know, there's arguments like this. Over there, yeah, wait, one second. Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. The people trying to discover if it's more than one world in the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And you said that Hashem is one world, a special place, and the sun
and the moon.
Yeah, in the moon, like this special places between them. It's not they're gonna burn or gonna be really cold. And my question is the Torah says about it, like it's really just one word, nothing else about the whole galaxy, because people.
The Torah doesn't speak. I got your question. The Torah does not say if there are life in other stars, but the student of the Ramban 750 years ago, Talmidei Ramban, they wrote that in other stars there are no people like us. Because of the text, what they wrote, it opened the debate. Some rabbis claim that what the students of the Rambam meant, that there is life, but the people over there are not like us with Torah and free choice and reward and punishment. And some people say, no, they meant that there's no life at all. When Mashiach comes, we will know if there's life or not. It's not important because it doesn't affect our life to be righteous or wicked is nothing to do if there are people in different planets. What does it have to do with us? We have to focus on where we live. We have Torah. The Torah was given to us in front of millions of witnesses. The Jewish nation received the book of God. Torah means in Hebrew instructions, and the Torah tells us what to do, what not to do. That's all.
These things like saying trying to fight us. Maybe they.
I tell you, do you know how many theories every day are coming to the world? They try to find us. One day they come to this world and they occupy us. But you know what? Thanks to you, you reminded me about a beautiful story. How one time I made a guy that was so anti-religious, I made him a Bachur Yeshiva. Thanks to you, I'm going to repeat that story. One time I went to a place. I used to speak there every once in a while. There was one guy there named Horowitz. This Horowitz, believe it or not, is a grandson of the Shla Kadosh from 500 years ago, in the generation of the Ari. But he was an Israeli, Chiloni. He doesn't know that much about Torah. So every proof I showed him, he's a very smart person. He said, listen, I cannot argue with this. Obviously, a person cannot write it. So then he told me, but I tell you what I claim. I claim there is a UFO, came from another star, is much more advanced than us, and he gave us the Torah, because they know much better than us, and they made this world, and they gave us the Torah. You say it's God, I say it's a UFO. Wait, patience. So I said to him, now he was sure now, I'm going to start telling him, it says Elohim, it says Hashem, it says Shin, Dalet, and Yud. He was ready for this argument. So I told him, you know what? You convinced me. No problem. You want to call it UFO? Call it UFO. But you see that the UFO knows everything? Yes. You see the UFO control our life? Yes. You see the UFO give us oxygen to breathe? Yes. The UFO told us if we're not going to listen to him, he will cut us from the afterlife. So he looked at me like this. He said, wow, you shocked me. I didn't expect such an answer. I said, come to the yeshiva. Until today is in yeshiva already 6 years. Learning full day. Full day. Yeah, one second.
I heard that every time a person...
Shh. Wait, right here. No?
I heard that every time a person sins, in the afterlife, he has like a cloak he wears, and he gets stained every time.
The neshama, according to Kabbalah, the neshama receives spiritual stains because of the sins that a person makes. But tshuva, when we do tshuva, repentance, and we suffer a lot, suffering cleans the souls. And also when we repent, and also Yom Kippur, and also we do confession every day, vidui. There are many things in the life. Also we give a lot of tzedakah. There is a medicine against the sickness. So the soul has a lot of stains. But when a person does a lot of good also, and does tshuva, so it's a constant battle. The soul tomorrow gets stained, but the next day it gets a little cleaner, and stain and clean and stain. And the question is, when we die, what's going to be the situation of the soul? Is it going to be full of stains, or it's going to be clean because we did tshuva, and 100% we clean all the sins we made? Yes?
How come those people who has more desires that can't hold Shabbat or whatever they try to begin, what's best for them?
Okay, first of all, it's true that some people have bigger... Some people have bigger desires than others. It's not a secret. But there's no such thing they can't. Why? I'll prove to you. You bring me every person that tells you he cannot keep Shabbat, and I'm going to make him Shomer Shabbat in 1 second. Yeah, I'm going to tell him $10,000 cash every Shabbat you keep. And he's going to keep Shabbat better than Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Why? See the pile of the cash? Why? I tell you why. One guy came to me and said, listen, what do you want from me? I was Mechalel Shabbat, you made me Shomer Shabbat. I learn Torah every day. I give tzedakah. I walk with kippah and tzitzit. I eat kosher. I don't make sins anymore like I used to do. I cannot get up in the morning to come to shul. One thing, leave me alone. I cannot be in shul at 7 o'clock. I can't. I like to sleep late. It's in my system. I can't get up 6:30. I can't. So one time I came to him, I said, I got you a sponsor. Every day you show up to Minyan, $1,000 cash. I said, come on, you're fooling me. I said to him, you don't believe me? I said, come tomorrow. I wait for you by the door in the shul with $1,000 cash. If I do, come the next day also. If not, don't ever come again. Fair deal? He said, listen, don't fool me. I said, here, let's shake hands. I said, $1,000 every day? I said, yeah, he's a very rich guy. He wants to give you a push for a few months. He'll give you $1,000 every day. Deal! I said, get out of here, you liar. Just 5 minutes ago, I can't. You kill me, I can't. A few pieces of paper, you became a lion. You got it? There's no such thing I can't. That's I don't want enough. Yes. Shh. We'll get to you. 1 second. Shh. Louder, louder. I'm deaf.
You were talking about how Shabbat is important. We all have to keep it. Yes. But I have a question about Shabbat.
It wasn't me. Hashem said it's very important to keep. Yes.
About Pesach, Sukkot, you know how it's much longer here.
Yes.
Shorter in Israel.
Yeah.
So how come we have to keep 2 days as holidays rather than 1 day?
I don't understand. Your boss gives you vacation for 2 days and you complain?
Well, one boss they got, but there's another boss.
So why do we have to still keep 2 days for Israel? You said Holocaust has...
There's rules. Why? There's few reasons why in the exile we have to keep 2. In the old days there was a doubt if it's supposed to be now or tomorrow because they used to send messengers. But according to Kabbalah, what you can do in the Holy Land in 1 day, it takes 2 days in the exile. That's why, yeah, because it's spiritual worlds. But let's put it that way. A person that doesn't keep at all, at least let him start first day. Then, in a month from now, we'll negotiate about the second day. At least start the first day, the one who doesn't keep. Keep Shabbat in the first Yom Tov, it's already a huge progress. Then when he be a little bit stronger, Bezrat Hashem will start the second day also. Shabbat is the highest. It's higher than Yom Kippur even. Shh. Hey, when a person talks, please try to keep it quiet, please.
You do cook, from previous payments, but...
You trying to negotiate with me, maybe I'll give you a discount? No, I'm trying to understand. That's the law. What can I do? Hashem say in the exile 2 days. That's it. Chazal, Chachamim said. Right.
Now, internet...
Yes, but I have to tell you something. There are rules in Judaism. What are the rules? The future generation doesn't have the authority to cancel rules that previous generations Beddin made. It has to be gadol bechokma uveminyan. It has to be greater amount and greater quality, which will never happen. The Beit Din today, no matter which rabbi you take all the biggest 71 rabbis in the world, they won't be in the level of the Chazal 2,000 years ago that made this decree that we must keep 2 days. We don't have, you're right, you have a logical point, and maybe if Hashem would come down here and say, she's right, I don't mind, change it for 1 day, but we don't have the authority. I wish, if it was up to me, okay, keep only 1 day.
In the previous lecture, you said that halacha is according to the generation.
No, halacha of things that we did not have in the world, like crackpot, elevators, these things that we didn't have. So now halacha means we go with the advance of the world. The world is developing. Now we need to sit and think if elevator is kosher or not. We don't open old cases that are already 2,000 years old and now say, today the world is different, let's not keep this. That's what the reforms did. And today they don't keep one mitzvah. Yes, over there. Shh. I'll get to you. I'm here. Shh.
Question number 1.
Yes. Shh.
There is a lot of people today that don't put in don't put in, barely keep Shabbat, but they're trying to buy their way out. They buy, they sponsor everything, they put money, lecture, whatever you want. They put a lot of money trying to buy a lot of points, supposedly. How do you answer this kind of thing?
Okay, I'll tell you the good and the bad about it. Let's start with the good to make them feel good. It's very smart for a person who doesn't keep mitzvot to buy mitzvot. Why? Someone who doesn't keep mitzvot and do not buy mitzvot is really bold from both sides. It's nothing. He doesn't do and he doesn't buy. Better, obviously, to buy than not to do anything. But it's not a solution for a person because the Torah obligates every Jew to keep all the mitzvot. Even the number one person that donates the most still have to keep mitzvot, still have to come to shul, put tefillin. Because a person gives millions of dollars to tzedakah, he doesn't have even one tiny discount in one mitzvah, even the Rabbanan, in the entire year of every year of his life. He doesn't have any discount. The way of the Yetzer Hara is, he always comes to us with what we do good. Look, thanks to you, the whole shul. Thanks to you, the yeshiva is learning around the clock. Thanks to you, there's so many Baalei Tshuva. You can sleep, no problem. You don't have to be in a shul so early. You can pray very late. The Yetzer Hara always give us enough to convince us not to do. But we have to be clever not to let him fool us. So let me tell you something. First of all, people that do not start the day by praying in shul in minyan, they don't have the same blessing like someone who does. I can tell you from experience that even secular people who do not pray and do not believe in anything, when they get up early in the morning and they go to work early and they start the day in a good time, their day is blessed. There is some special blessing. This is the first halakha in Shulchan Aruch. When a person wakes up early, his entire day is more blessed than if not. When he starts his day late, everything is messed up. No blessing in anything. Not in his learning, not in his work, not in his business, nothing. And the people who wake up early, they are happier. They are healthier. After they get up, they come to shul, they pray together with everyone, they say Kaddish, they say Kedusha, they answer Baruch Hu. When you answer Baruch Hu, a part of the soul comes in. The soul that lives at night when we go to sleep, it enters, Chazal say, in the Baruch Hu. Person doesn't come to shul, he never enters. He doesn't come, he doesn't say Baruch Hu. And Kedusha, and Birkat Kohanim. There's so many mitzvot in shul that you don't have at home. Just the Kaddishim alone, do you know what it means to answer Kaddish? The Gemara say one of the Amoraim, he went to shul, and they started Kaddish, and someone was in a roof, and he jumped. I don't know how high was the roof, probably not like here, but he jumped into the shul, and like this, boom, amen. He looks at him, he says, I want this guy to be my chatan, to marry my daughter. So they told him why. He said he could have gone from the stairs and go around the building and come into the shul. He risked his life to jump into the shul because he doesn't want to miss one amen. Why I'm telling you this story? Because it's very important not to miss amenim, to answer this. So it's very important. Plus, you have to know one more thing. The Torah is not what we like, what we feel comfortable with, or what we don't like. It doesn't work this way. This is the law. This is what I do right, very good. Now let's focus on what I do wrong. It's enough getting compliments, tzaddik, you give donation. Where is it going to get you to? Tzaddik, it's okay. Somebody told me, no, why are you telling him not to come to shul with the car on Shabbat? Look what the tzaddik is. He parked the car 2 blocks away. You see? It could have been worse. That's not going to make him tzaddik, giving him such fake compliments. Yeah, it's nice of him that he doesn't push the car into the Chal HaKodesh in the middle of Shabbat. I tell you what happened. One time I went to a place, and I saw a guy with a motorcycle showed up, parked in Mincha of Shabbat, right by the entrance to the shul. I look at him from the window, walks inside the shul, and the rabbi calls him and gives him aliyat shlishi. So I come to the rabbi there. I say to him, I don't understand. You don't know halakha in Shulchan Aruch? Not allowed to give him mechalel Shabbat b'faresi aliyah like this. 1,000 people in a shul. We are not makpid in this, he said to me, over here. We're not makpid in this. I don't want to make machloket. I went and sat down. What happened a minute later? His phone started to ring with a goyish music, a woman, some woman, Goya, blessed the entire shul, the biggest chilul Hashem since Moshe Rabbeinu. 1,000 people in the middle of Shabbat, music of some Goya, and he got so nervous. He goes like this. You know how when a person is nervous, he keeps going and going and going. And I said to the rabbi, Hashem wanted you to see that there's no such thing over here, we're not makpid. There's halakha. When Hashem say things in the Torah, he knew there would be people like this. And he still say halakha. What? There's halakha in Shulchan Aruch. So now, the people that donate, it's very nice to donate, and they really buy millions of mitzvot. If the Gemara say, Gadol ha'me'aseh yoter min ha'oseh. If you make others do mitzvot, your reward is even greater than them. So if you make a person Baal Tshuva with your money that you sponsor CDs, and now thanks to the CD that you gave him $1 for free, and he comes from your pocket, he became Shomer Shabbat, all his mitzvot goes to your account, to him and to you. But to you even better than him. And one day he will have children, it comes to you. And he has grandchildren, and he comes to you. Chazal say, when Cain murdered Hevel, Hashem asked him, where is your brother Hevel? So he said, oh, I'm the keeper of my brother. So Hashem answered him, Kol dmei achicha tzoakim elai min ha'adama. The bloods, plural, the bloods of your brother are screaming to me from the ground. So Chazal say, what does it mean, the bloods? The blood. Blood of one person, one blood. What does it mean, bloods? Dmei, damim. Chazal say, him and his children and his basically half of the world. In the head of the pyramid, there was Cain and Hevel. You kill Hevel, today you have 7 billion people. It was started with 2 people, maybe you have 14 billion. So you killed somebody in the head of the pyramid, it's not one person, it's a lot. So Chazal says like this, אם במידת פורענות ככה, מידה טובה על אחת כמה וכמה. If when it's negative, that Hashem is not happy with that, you're responsible for all the bad who comes out of it. If it's something good, that you save the neshama, it's needless to say, it's even greater and greater and greater forever. And the Zohar in Parashat Truma is speaking about people that their money and their efforts are saving souls. Zikui Arabim. If you read what it says over there, you faint from happiness. It's the Zohar say if a person ran after one Jew 70 years. 70 years suffer in this world, and he made one Jew religious. It was already worth it. This Jew already will make him billions of mitzvot eventually. But again, none of these things, it's permission to start going down personally. Why? Because merits, zchuyot, you have a lot. But when your level, your spiritual level is very low. If you don't come to shul, if all day you listen to goyish music in a car, if you don't come to mincha and arvit, when are you connecting to Hashem? You don't learn, you're not an avrech, you don't come to shul, you see the rabbi once in Shabbat for 1 hour when you show up in Musaf. So what kind of Judaism is that? So every person that doesn't do it, I tell you a secret, he should make himself penalty. Every day, first of all, he should put his tefillin in shul. It will force him to come to shul. Second, for every day he doesn't come, $100 penalty. 3-4 days, it would hurt in the pocket. He will be the first one waking up people for the minyan. People understand penalty, what can we do? Yeah.
The kosher Jew, Shomer Shabbat, religious, like strict religious, is he allowed to eat in someone's house where that house doesn't keep modesty in public, or doesn't have a hair, or is not educated?
If the people that, thank you. If the, okay, listen, okay. If the people that invite him to eat by them has a chazakah that they keep kosher, chazakah means certainty. It's well known that they buy kosher, you see them always in a kosher shop, and they go in places like this, he's allowed to eat by them. But if these people have chazakah of eating not kosher outside, or people already testify that they bought ingredients that are not kosher, then you can never trust them. But if they do not have any chazakah, not kosher and not kosher, the majority of the secular people in the world today don't keep kashrut 100%. So you're not allowed to give them the benefits of the doubt. You have to assume that they don't know how to keep, even if they want. If they have certainty of keeping kosher, even if they're not big rabbis, and even if the woman is not exactly modest, but it's well known, they makpidim in kashrut, they pay double on a kosher meat, they in supermarkets, you see that they check only for kosher, and they go to the only Jewish place and they buy kosher, and no one ever saw them doing something illegal, then you can rely on them. Because they have chazakah of kashrut in kosher food.
Or they're eating somebody else's.
No, if you see them putting in their mouth anything not kosher, you cannot trust them in anything when it comes to food. If they don't care about their own neshama, they definitely don't care about your neshama. So there's no question about it. Every shoot, she'elot v'tshuvot, asking your question, all poskim, Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, all answer the same one. If the person does not care about himself, you cannot rely on him to care about you. Yes, go ahead. You occupy the whole evening. This guy is hungry, more and more.
What if a person is makpid on kashrut and mitzvot and achot, but they don't keep Shabbat? How are you going to eat in their house? Because they're turning on fire that's not gas, it's electric.
I tell you now what's the halacha said in Shulchan Aruch and what some of the rabbis today say. The halacha in Shulchan Aruch say that a person that is not shomer Shabbat, bishulo bishul akum. If he cook all week, you're not allowed to eat from his food. Not only if he cook on Shabbat. If he cook on Monday, Tuesday, you're not allowed to eat by him. But today, the level of the generation is very, very low. And most of the Jews who don't keep Shabbat, as I said an hour ago, not because they're evil or they want to make Hashem angry, just they have no idea what it is. And the proof is me. I'm the best proof for that. When I see half of them right away within weeks, they change because they never know. And you see, it's such a crime. If we only had the money and the power to reach all these people, we can make 1 million Baalei Tshuva in a month. It's all a matter of technical problems. So therefore, since these people are not doing lachis, some rabbis, not everyone, some say, la'ali ma'in. If they cook, if they makpid on the kosher ingredients, you can eat from their food. Some say, still, bishulam bishul akum. So whoever is your rabbi, you follow him. Yes.
Starting your day earlier makes your day better. And if not, then your day is all messed up. But what if you're awake all night with your baby? And you're like...
Every rule has an exception to the rule. If you work in a night shift, you obviously cannot wake up early. No, obviously. Yes. Shh. What's the rush? We started early and we're still here. No, 1 second. You next. Yeah.
Previous lecture you said about Muslim people think that the Jewish God was torn away from our nation.
Yes.
So on Holocaust, you're saying that this time he was leaving them. So what is...
No. The covenant that he made with us on the Torah, he will never replace us with any other nation. But he said to Moshe, there will be time that the Jews will go against him, and they marry the Goyim, and they leave the Torah, and break the covenant. Astir apanai mehem. I will close my eyes. Where? Over there. Only in that location. In our case, it was Europe. But not forever, God forbid. Because there's a promise, I will never replace your children with any other nation forever. Rega, over there. Where is he? Yeah.
Shh. You just said that the person that doesn't need kosher, you cannot trust his kosher. You cannot eat from his house.
Well, if he doesn't need kosher for himself, you... Yeah.
I'm sure 99% of synagogues, rabbis, they take donations from people like me, for example. I don't keep Shabbat. They don't check when I made this money and how I made this money.
Okay.
But they still take it and they still have it.
Yeah.
They still can do whatever other things they do.
Good question. So he's asking, on one hand, we say when people don't keep Shabbat or Kashrut, we take actions against them, we don't eat their food, etc. On the other hand, when they give donation, we welcome the donation with 2 pockets open. Right? The answer is, let me explain to you something. I one time came to a big rabbi, and I said to him, someone who has a business which is very bad, He wants to give a big donation. Allowed to accept from him or not? So his answer was like this. Let's think about both scenarios. If you don't take from him, first he get upset. Now he hates religion a lot more than before. Now he finally wants to do something good. You tell him, go. We don't want your money. Your money is dirty. So it will make him not closer to Hashem, going far away. That's damage number one. Damage number two, if we don't take his money, what is he going to do with the money? Buy more non-kosher food, go to the casino, buy another dirty movie, put more gas in his car and drive on Shabbat, go to his girlfriend and spend $500 on her. What is he going to do with his money? It's not exactly Chacham Ovadia, this guy, no? By taking the money from him, at least you put the money in shul, in Torah, on mitzvot, CDs, whatever we do. At least it gives him some mitzvot that he doesn't have all his life. So now, because he did X amount of mitzvot with his money, mitzvah goreret mitzvah. He did something good, so this mitzvah will open him a merit next time to start eating kosher. And one thing leads to another. So the answer is, we take money from people because even people who are big thieves, and even gamblers, and even people who make their money in a non-kosher way, the Shulchan Aruch say, Tolim bakesef hakasher. We assume that some of his money is kosher. However, if we know all his money is stealing, everything, we're not allowed to accept from him. If we know 100%, your brother, you know all his money, there's not one penny he makes in a kosher way, you're not allowed to accept. But if he makes kosher money and not kosher money, we say we're taking his kosher side of the money, not the money.
By assuming me that I don't eat kosher outside, but I eat inside. So by assuming that, you still not trust me to come to my house and eat kosher food?
No, it's two different categories. I tell you why. No, I tell you why. When you give me your money, I decide what to do with your money. You don't decide for me. I take your money and invest it according to the way Hashem wants it. Wait. I don't go and invest it in a disco bar that works on Shabbat. We make CDs and we give them to Chilonim and it open up their eyes. We give to Yeshiva. We do for shul. We do for things that will bring you profit. However, when you don't care what comes in your mouth, it's no secret that you won't care about me, because for you, it's nonsense. If a person put pork in his mouth, and you ask him, why are you doing it? You and your kosher, it's all nonsense. So if he doesn't believe in it, and he doesn't care because he doesn't believe in it, why should he pay double for me? For himself, he doesn't care. It's question. It's everyone. You ask everyone. You know, I want to tell you something. I have a friend in San Diego, Morris. He opened a big kosher supermarket over there. In the same supermarket, he made a section halal meat, because there are a lot of Muslims there. Thank you. And he made glad kosher. 90% of the Muslims buy glad kosher meat. They don't buy from the halal. So he asked them, why? Your meat is over there. We don't trust him. We trust you.
Right here, question.
You understand? A matter of trust. You know, these Jews afraid from Hashem what to put in their mouth. That's it. He comes to the Jew. Yes.
Right here.
Shh. We'll get to everyone. Relax. I'm not running anywhere. I have to sleep in Denver tonight. Relax. No.
Different, for example, not observe, for example, like some people not very modest, like women or Shabbat or something, may be connected to some different disease. Like if woman not very modest, maybe something like this. And other, how is this connection?
Okay, she asked if there's a connection between women who do not keep modesty or other mitzvot to sicknesses that may come to them. Or men. The Torah says very clearly that Hashem say to us, if you listen to me, the sicknesses that I gave in Egypt, I will not bring to you. It says, Ki ani Hashem rofecha, because I am God, your doctor. I am your doctor. Yes, you have a doctor in the neighborhood, and I give him the strength what to do, what not to do, but I am the top doctor. Without me, this doctor cannot do anything. So it says in the Torah a few things. When we listen to Hashem, He takes away the sicknesses from us. When we don't listen to Him, chas v'shalom, God forbid, He sends the sicknesses to us. It says clearly in the Torah. So the answer is there is a direct relationship between sins and sicknesses, for sure, because the Torah say it. I did not write the Torah. However, Hashem knows who we are, and He knows what generation we live, and He knows we're not living in a generation of the Rambam or Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He may become more lenient with us than with other generation. But reality-wise, in my humble opinion, I see today that every 10 minutes I get a text about the new cancer patients. Every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes. Pray for this, pray for that, pray for this, pray for that. I get tens of this a day. Tens from all over the world. It's an epidemic. It's growing by the weeks. I have a friend, he's a doctor in New York in a hospital. They say every week more cases than the previous week. It's keep growing and growing and growing. If we continue to grow like this, chas v'shalom, it's almost arrived to every house. The question is it coincidence? You can say yes. I say no. I don't know. From what the Torah say, for sure it's not coincidence. We want to rely on a miracle and think it's coincidence. We think it's cellular phone. We think it's high voltage wires. We think it's chemical food. We can make a lot of excuses. What does the Torah say? The Torah say sins make wars, sins make sicknesses, sins make problems. Being tzaddikim, take away the sicknesses. Bring peace to the land. We occupy the land, it's ours. The enemies cannot touch us. Read Parashat Bechukotai. Read. Don't say I said. Go home tomorrow, open Parashat Bechukotai. Read in the beginning. If you listen to me, that's what's going to happen to you. If you don't listen to me, that's what's going to happen to you. And then you decide if you want to be in this side or in that side. I'm not a factor here. I'm only reading. You, it's your decision. Right there. Rega, right, you, right there.
I have two questions.
Loud.
First, I want to thank you for trying to change our souls.
Thank you very much.
As a clarification, you said angel is the semen and gold. I cannot think semen is physical and angel is spiritual.
Right.
How do they connect?
Right. Every seed, there's millions of seeds. Every seed is a potential soul. It doesn't take the actual seed physical. It takes the potential soul of that seed and brings it in front of Hashem and says, what do you want to put in it? Do you want to put this soul or this one and this one or this one? You understand? It's metaphoric. Metaphor.
The second question is about the God promised Abraham about the sand and the stars.
Look how many Arabs you have from Hagar. Right. All the things that God promised is conditional if we're going to keep or not. The Torah say if we don't listen to Hashem, it will spread us in all the nations and only few of us will survive. Which means, if I promise you lots of money, if you're going to do this and this and this for me, and I gave you the money, and then you blew up the money, you burn it, is it possible to blame me or I have to blame you? If I gave you, I'm giving you unlimited money constantly, and you take it and burn it. So you come and say, it's not fair, you're not keeping your promise. I say, no, my friend, I keep my promise, but you going against me. You know, intermarriage in America, 71%. Secular Americans, every 100 Jews in America, 71 of them marry goyim. Do you understand that? So how are we going to have blessing? We choose to rebel against Hashem. We go against the rules. Marry a Jewish woman, and he's going to give you 8, 10 children. There's two problems. One, he doesn't listen to marry a Jew. That's number one. Second, if he marry a Jew, he have 1 kid and 3 dogs. You understand? He doesn't want kids. Birth control, abortions. So now they say, Hashem, where is your promise? Hashem, you're fighting against me you're throwing the promise, you're throwing my blessing back in my face, and you're asking me where is the blessing? I give you constantly blessing. You don't want my blessing. You don't want children, and you don't want to stay Jewish. That's it. What's the... And then we blame him. You know what it says in Navi? It says, like in King Shlomo, Solomon, he wrote like this, Ivelet Adam tesalef darko ve'al Hashem iz'af libo. The stupidity of the human being take him away from the path to God. And who does he blame? God. King Solomon, the smartest person ever lived. You understand? Hashem say this is the right way. We go to the opposite way and say it's not fair. You didn't keep your promise. Hashem say, I told you come here and I gave it to you. You didn't come. You don't come. Yes.
Going back to someone's house, shh. When you go to grandparents, to parents, and to, you know they don't do Shabbat.
So you bring delivery, food, glad kosher, you cook at home and you bring with you. It's not the reason not to go.
Like say you go to any another state, right? They have everything kosher, for example, but it doesn't keep Shabbat.
I told you, if they keep everything kosher, you can eat by them. Everything you know they keep kosher, but if they don't keep kosher, what can we do, ma? So I want to ask you a question. If my father come and give me steak from pork, and he tells me, if you don't eat it, I'm going to get offended. Am I allowed to listen to him? So I say to him, you are my biological father, and Hashem is a more important father than you. And Hashem told me not to listen to you. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, ani Hashem. Why there is ani Hashem, I am God? When he say respect your father and mother, all of a sudden he push it to us, but remember, I'm God. Which means if they tell you to do something against me, you're not allowed to listen to them. Not only that, for their own good. If a father convinces his son to be a thief, the son shouldn't listen to him, not because he goes against his father, because he loves his father. If the father tells you take drugs, so you love your father, you don't want to listen to him, just because he gave you a foolish idea. Sometimes not listening to a person, it's an indication you love him. Not always listening to a person. If I know a junkie on the street that is full of needles in his arms, he wants money for me. If I give him money, I'm a murderer. I shouldn't give him money. I give him food. You hungry? Come, I'll buy you food. I'm not allowed to give him money, because of course he won't buy food. He will kill himself faster. So I'm not foolish. I know he's going to kill himself, so why I'm giving him cash? You understand? So we have to use what the Torah says. More than that, we don't have permission to go against Hashem. Anyone who didn't speak. Over here, yes, right here. Shh. Shh.
So is it a mitzvah to give charity to Jews, or can you give charity to non-Jews?
It's mitzvah to give charity to the closest people to you first. Aniyei hakodmim. So if the relatives in a family who needs, they come before other people. And then if there's nobody in a family that is in need, people of the city. And if no here, people of the entire nation of Israel. After we finish with our brothers, if we have left over, we go to other nations. However, the way it used to be is like this. The Gentiles give donation also sometimes to the Kupat Ha'ir. So they use the money that the non-Jews gave for non-Jews. You understand why? Because if the non-Jew come and say, I'm hungry, feed me, you cannot tell him no. What are you going to tell him? Oh, you're not Jewish, I cannot give him. You must give him. So what they do, since there are many good Gentiles who donate, so they took their money, and they knew that there are other Gentiles that are poor coming to ask for money, so they use their brothers for their brothers. Brothers to brothers, brothers to brothers. And if there's not enough from the Gentiles, they even gave the money from the Jews. Why? To avoid Chilul Hashem. But there is a list of priorities when it comes to tzedakah. I have a whole lecture about it. Maaser, it's how to invest the charity wisely. It's in my website. You can listen to it. Yeah.
Before Hashem, like last period of time, I was keeping them a strong child, right?
Yes.
For me, it's sometimes a little strange to hear from them. For example, some got sick on the beginning of the Friday, like morning, like it's really bad, like fever and cold and something. When the beginning of Shabbat, I told him to take one more medication for the evening, he's going to feel much better. I'm not allowed to take the medication for the night and Shabbat. I said, why? He said, it's not allowed. I don't understand it. And my daughter said, Mom, don't worry about it. He's not dying.
Yeah, minor sicknesses, we're not allowed to take medication. If there's serious, like high fever or something that can endanger the life, then we're allowed to take medicine.
If I'm not going to keep myself healthy, for example, for 2 days, it's going to be then inflammation of my...
Oh, medicine like antibiotic, you're allowed to take on Shabbat. If you started a few days before, or you take it routine, you're allowed to take on Shabbat. Just pain relief and stuff like that, not allowed to take on Shabbat. Why? Because in the old days, when people were sick, they used to make medicine at the spot. It wasn't like today, you go to the pharmacy and buy chemicals. They used to cut from the leaves, they used to take honey, they used to do a lot of chilulei Shabbat. So they made a rule that medicine is not allowed. Why? If you allowed medicine, people violate Shabbat for minor sicknesses. They go, they cut from the tree, they heat, they do all kinds of things that they're not allowed to do. So since it's already the rule 2,000 years, like I said to this lady here before, we do not have permission. We are not reforms. Reform started to change 250 years ago, one law. Today they don't keep one law of the Torah, not even one. If we would start to cut, our children will cut more, and our grandchildren will cut more and more and more. In 5 generations, we're going to eat pork and Yom Kippur, chas v'shalom. So we do not open for any minor negotiation when it comes to the laws of the Torah. Yes.
And I brought the banana from my house to their house, and my daughter was good keeping Shabbat.
Yeah.
And her little son was there, and I brought the banana for him because I saw on Friday night he asked for banana. And Shabbat afternoon I brought it him, and my daughter said, Mama, you cannot give it to him because he brings his banana.
Right. Okay, now you're touching another law. You want to join the yeshiva if you have such questions. You need to come to yeshiva and learn all the laws of Shabbat for 7 years, and you're going to be able to teach the law of Shabbat. But in the meantime, the law, it's like this. Shomer Shabbat Jew is not allowed to enjoy any violation of Shabbat by another Jew. Another Jew that just cut his soul out of eternity by violating Shabbat, it's a very big tragedy. Maybe he doesn't know yet. But we as a Shomer Shabbat understand what he does to his neshama, to his soul. You want me to benefit from him, from his destruction? How can it be that a brother sees other brother sinking and is dancing and enjoying from the money? It doesn't work that way. Now, since you violated the rules of Shabbat, you carry the banana from one area to the other. Therefore, they're not allowed to eat the banana on Shabbat, but they can allow it. They can allow to eat it Motzei Shabbat, not the end of the world. Another 3 hours they eat it. Over there with the blue shirts in the end. Yes, you next. Louder, louder. There's no bigger obligation than this in life. He asked if there is an obligation to send the kids to yeshiva. The answer is someone who sends his kids to a public school is jeopardizing the destruction of their soul for eternity. If a person doesn't have money, he has to run from morning to night, knock on doors and beg people and collect the money and come to the yeshiva and say, here is for you for the next 30 days to teach my children Torah. And I promise you, someone who wants his children to be in yeshiva, he will see tons of miracles, how Hashem will help him. Today, people say yeshiva, it's expensive. If you really think about it, let's say the yeshiva, an average yeshiva, charge $30 a day. If you divide it to 31 days, $30 a day. There are 2 or 3 rabbis that teach the children from 7, 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening for $30 a day. Is that a lot? Ask somebody non-Jew to come and teach a class all day for $30 a day. Plus there's food, plus they teach them how to behave, plus their parents can go and work while they're in yeshiva all day, plus the education is 1,000,000 times better than public school, plus the children are safe. They don't need to go through a metal detector like the schools in New York. There's a guard, he watch you like you go to court. Take everything out, put here, you go in a machine like in the airport. And you know what's going on? You bring food and you bring money and they come with a knife and they rob you every day. There's gangs. You know what's happening in public school in some of them? If a person sends his kids to non-from ultra-Orthodox school, the chance, check the statistic, that his children would marry non-Jews is very, very high. There's almost, you need a huge miracle to get saved. To people coming to me now, when I spoke to them 16 years ago not to do it, begging me to try to prevent the marriage of their son with Christine. So I said to him 16 years ago, I begged you with tears not to put him in public school. I begged you. You have the money. You made fun. Now I have to clean your dirt. And that's an epidemic. It happens all the time. Some people say, I don't have money for yeshiva, but they have 5 television. Every iPhone who comes out, right away, $600. 2 weeks ago, he bought iPhone 4, iPhone new one, iPhone 5, iPhone new one. Every 2-3 weeks, he buy a new one. He replaces car every 2-3 weeks, 2-3 years. They have vacation, they go to Israel, they go to New York 2-3 times a year. Everything they have money. But for yeshiva, to save the souls of their children, no money. No money. Well, if the kids doesn't want to go, that means something in the house is not right. That means he was raised in a way that he was getting more non-Jewish education than Jewish. That's why he's not attracted to it. Because he grew up in a certain way, and now you change his head, something he's not used to. Normal Jewish children, since they're 2 years old, you give them Jewish education. If you beg them to go to public school, they would run 1 hour from there with tears. They won't be able to be there. If I take one of my children and tell him I give you whatever you want, go 1 day in public school, by the door, he would run back to the car. He will not go in. He doesn't want to stand there 1 minute, bichlal. 1 minute he doesn't want to stand there. You understand? I take my children sometimes with me to an area. As soon as they come to a certain area, you can see how they become nervous. You're loud? You must. Rega, wait. Shh. College, depend on the college. College is a whole hour lecture. I have a lecture about college. You have to listen to it. Now it's going to take me an hour to explain all the scenarios when it comes to college. That's why better not to go into it. Yeah. Shh, you, yeah.
Gentiles, you just now kind of started becoming aware of more the truth. And we kind of like, our traditions, you know, we would watch sports and Olympics, and they do kind of like ceremonies that almost look like rituals sometimes. And I was just wondering, is that like getting the whole nation involved in like idolatry, or is, you know, it seems like it would be like a ritual to the, whatever their agenda is that idolatry?
No, I tell you something. Sports, for Gentiles, sports is completely allowed. Gentiles only has to keep 7 main laws, and every logical law, which means it's required by human logic, not to make the streets dirty, not to beat up his parents, to respect his parents, to respect every human being. It's not necessarily one of the 7 laws, but it's something that is mandatory for every normal human being. But not to follow sport, it's not an obligation for a Gentile. So a Gentile can follow sport and still be a righteous Gentile. For a Jew, it's a problem. Why? Because a Jew has an obligation to learn Torah in every open minute that he has. Sport comes on the expense of Torah. So when a Jew has an obligation right now to learn the wisdom of God, and he puts it in a garbage, and he chooses some athletes who run and throw a ball, it shows Hashem that this guy who knows how to take a piece of leather and throw it into the net is more important for me than you and your Torah. Then it creates for the Jew a serious problem. But a Gentile doesn't have an obligation to learn Torah. Therefore, he can do whatever he wants in his free time as long as it doesn't make sins. Sports, it's not a sin for him. However, if a Gentile one day chooses to convert to Judaism, then all the laws that applies to a regular Jew applies to him as much, no discounts. That's why we ask them 50 times before we convert them in New York, you sure you want to do it? He doesn't pay, think again, go home, come back next week. Better not to, believe me, you have easy life now, you don't understand. We do everything we can. Some of them gives up, and some of them say, no, I cannot be a Gentile another day of my life. I waited, and they begin to cry in the mikveh. You should see how they shiver. I sometimes feel embarrassed. I see this non-Jew who is becoming a Jew in front of my eyes and is a million times better than me. I see how they cry. How I say to myself, wow, we take it for granted. We have it every day. We keep, we don't keep. When we make a scene, we're not falling on the floor and crying. We don't run in the street and scream, thank you Hashem, I'm a Jew. And look at this, how they cry and how they shake. They can't say the bracha. When they go into the mikveh, they need to say the bracha. The words don't come out of 90% of the conversion that I participated. They just couldn't say the bracha from excitement, the blessing. They couldn't say it. That's how excited they are. So if they decide to be Jewish, all the laws that apply to them until now, get wiped out, and now they move to a different league. Bigger rewards, but also bigger punishments. It goes together. So therefore they have to decide if they want to do it or not. Someone who didn't speak. We have anyone? You spoke. No, you over there. Yeah.
One of the 10 commandments is to honor your mother and father.
Yeah.
But when, let's say there's a kosher Jewish match where the guy is learning Torah, keep Shabbat, keep Kosher, the girl is modest, keep Shabbat, Shabbat can't do whatever she can. As she is, are they allowed to not listen to their parents in the kosher Jewish match if they want to get married?
That's a very good question. If the parents write about their claims, you have to listen to them. If they're wrong, you're not allowed to listen to him. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. If the father comes and tells you, don't marry this guy, he has a long record of drug usage. He used drugs, heroin, cocaine. You must listen to him. Why? There's a very serious risk that this person will go back to it. If he comes and says, this person has no fear from God, no respect for religion, he is not keeping, or this girl is not modest, you must listen to them, because this is what Hashem would tell you. But if the father comes and says to you, don't marry this girl because she's not Ashkenazi, or because she's not Sfaradi, or because she's not pretty enough, things like this, but in your eyes she's pretty enough, then you bring him to the rabbi, and the rabbi's job is to quiet him down. And if he continues to insist, you don't need his blessing to get married. You don't need. Your life comes first, before. If the girl is not pretty enough for the father, but for you is 100% tzaddiket, with good education, and you love her very much, and she loves you very much, and everything is beautiful, just because the parents don't like the family, because in Bukhara they came from a different town, or things like that, that's against Hashem. Hashem is not racist. You understand? All Jews are equal for Hashem. All of them. Doesn't matter what country they're born and how many college degrees they have. And how much money they have. For Hashem it doesn't mean anything. For Hashem it's only mean Irat Shamayim, to be tzaddik, to be Talmid Chacham. That's what's important. The rest is not important. It's all politics. What's important is if the parents come and say to you, this person is not Irat Shamayim, he's a gambler. Gambler, it's a disaster to marry to a gambler. Disaster. There's no life. Everything they make, it's all go to that chaos, which called casino. They stay there for 2-3 days. They forget their wife. They forget their children. They get fired from work. They go into horrible, it's a turbulence. So if something like this is known before the shidduch, of course you have to listen to the parents. You understand? Yes. Louder, louder. I was in the Air Force, 3 years under F-16. My ears doesn't function. Go ahead.
Back to the school debate, you said that every parent is obligated to give their child to yeshiva. What if there are some low-quality yeshivas around the area and the public school would actually be better for an education-wise and the people that go there? Because I know Jewish practices here, they're not best, they're not the best people.
I don't know what it means, low-quality yeshiva. She need to be more specific. What does it mean, low-quality yeshiva? Ah, you mean the level of the secular studies is low?
Yes.
But the Torah study is high? You get a tutor to help the kids to complete the secular studies after, on Sundays, on Motzei Shabbat, to bring them up to date. But it's much more important that they grow to be Jews and not become itbolelim and leave the religion, then they will know math and science. It's much more important. You understand the difference, right?
Yeah, but shouldn't that come from the home though? Like if you shouldn't that come from the home? Like, okay, you can go to a public school, you have to misbehave yourself. I can't be acting.
Something inside of me tells me that you don't really believe what you're saying. Do you really think that if you're going to put your kid with Chinese and Koreans and Italians and they get a little bit from each culture and they get an hour or two from home, that the hour at home will overcome everything they see in schools? Do you really think it's possible?
We live around them anyway. We live around Chinese, Japanese.
No. There's a different living. There's different walking on the street and they walk around you than sitting 8 hours or 10 hours next to him in a class like husband and wife. There's a difference. You understand? And eating with him in the same table and becoming his best friend and go to his home and watch what he watched and then see all the statues that they have and JC and the mother and all the things and the kids becoming to see is confused what he is. What do you think happened to all the Jews? Why they all go and leave the Torah and go and marry nations? Why? It's one of the main reasons it's public school. You know, the ultra-Orthodox people, hardly anyone marry non-Jew. Hardly anyone, not even 1%. When they graduate yeshivot, they marry only to Orthodox Jews. Where all the intermarriage come from? It all comes from people who are secular and most of them goes to public school. So when we see the numbers, we cannot live in a lie and denial. The kids go to public, very high chance you lose them. They go to yeshiva, there's a high chance that you keep them as Jews. That's it. Okay. Shh. Okay. Right here. He did not say anything. Shh. Go ahead. Okay. Shh. Shh.
Tell them they have a Torah, regular Torah, and they have a oral Torah, right? So, and when was the last oral Torah was written?
2,000 years ago.
So nothing else more added to this Torah?
Nothing was added to this.
Nothing going to be added?
What?
Nothing going to be added? Or it will be some rabbi come and say,
No. The rules, the foundation of the oral Torah stay always the same. Nobody added any new rules to the oral Torah. They take the same oral Torah and whatever happens in the world, based on what the Talmud say, we learn what to do today. Same Talmud, same Gemara. Sometimes the rabbis will not say the same. I'll tell you why. Because the Torah, you know, there are millions of cases in life. The Torah didn't speak about everything, right? So some cases, it's not black and white, it's gray. So when I ask you, this gray, what is it? You say white. For me, gray, it's black. That's why I can say black, you can say white. We both very close to the truth. I meant gray and you meant gray. But I say black, you say white. Sometimes there's arguments. For instance, somebody in Japan made a new crack pot, to make chulent on Shabbat. So the rabbi is checking the thing. He goes, he asks the engineer, and one check, and they check differently, and one say you're allowed to use it on Shabbat, one say you're not allowed to use it on Shabbat. In reality, one is right, one is wrong, in reality, right? But the Torah told us, since we are not angels, we are people, Hashem told us, in case there is a doubt, and we're not sure what to do, every person has to have a rabbi that he follow. Whatever he tells him, he must listen to him. Why? We do not know all the Torah. So we have to, the same thing we ask the doctor what to do because we don't know medicine. So we ask the rabbi what to do. If the rabbi made mistake, it's not your problem. It's his problem. He has to learn better next time. But we need somebody to tell us what to do. So now, we are not robots. There are many arguments between the rabbi today. There was always argument in the last 2,000 years. But the Torah gave us the rules when there is argument, how do we decide what to do? So we follow the majority. If this is the chief rabbi against local rabbi, so we go with the chief rabbi. If we have a personal rabbi that we learn by him, so we listen to him. So there's rules what to do. When Mashiach comes, everything will be clear. It's not 100% perfect, but it's okay. Hashem already told us it's going to be like that. That's why he told us what to do when there is doubts. That's it. I want to say, Baruch Hashem, I always beat the audience, but you beat me. Usually I always answer until there's no more hands. But over here, you're very hungry in Denver. I know I'm going to stay by you until the morning. The only reason I have to say goodbye, because I know few people wanted to speak to me after the lectures, and I know they want to go home already. So anyone who has more questions, ask me in person. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone. We'll see you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.